securing BlizzCon, right? I think that's another important thing to note. Obviously, there's so many cups left, but that's what they're going for, because I don't think they're scared at this point of making it to the LAN. Like, you actually need to think about how difficult it would be. I'm not going to say that's mathematically 100% law that they're going, but yeah, I'm not going to take the risk with doing math right now. But entering this tournament with 240 points, they know that they're leaving now with at least 340, and then the other teams entering were 180 in wild card. They now slowly fall behind just a little bit because they fall out early to Method Black. Changed my mind with 100 points falling out before them, but that's 2 and 3 soaking up a lot of the points again, which makes it that much harder for another team, which means 4 is going to be the position that's in flux. And we were here, had 80, and now you're having another team jump in. Now everybody's fighting over the bubble. That's exactly what Method Black really does want to happen, and they've sucked up so many points. I feel like if they didn't even play in the next 3 tournaments, they would still be good to go. Maybe they would drop down to something like a 3rd, 4th place, but that's how far ahead they are already.
Yeah, and do we really see Method Black not making top 4, top 8? I feel like if I would bet on them getting top 4 in pretty much every single tournament.
Look,
at this point.
I mean, well, okay, and this isn't a shot at all, but look at Method Orange. Like they don't make top 8, right? They don't make top 8 the first week. Now, all of a sudden, with how good their comps are right now and how strong they are as players, it almost doesn't matter because they've been so consistent already. So even if they did drop the ball, I agree, it is not something that we expect to happen at all. Even if they did, we already see in Method Orange that a team of this caliber can fix that. They can throw a Band-Aid on it pretty quickly by just being consistent. And then you can rely on just at least getting to top 8, at least getting some points. There is a pretty dramatic fall off. It is one of those things where if you can top 4 every week, if you make it to Sunday, there's almost no way. And in NA, we know who some of those bubble teams are. The Move is going to be one of them, and we're going to get to see what they can do a little bit later on. This is the first time that they made it to a top 4. But here, we're going to see that 63% of you think that Method Black can take it. Another first place for them. Last year, it took them a little while to get those wheels turning, and then once they were set on their goal, they became one of the most dominant teams we have ever seen until BlizzCon, where we saw the Move and Method Orange get to the grand final.
Ooh, this is actually really interesting. I can't help but feel like Method Black, they won this blind pick. Pumpers, they do lock in the Moonkin with Knobbers, Cervantes on that Unholy Death Knight, and Drainer on the Mistweaver Monk, but we've seen how Method Black plays out this composition. I feel like Knobbers is going to be force defensive quite a bit. Drainer's going to have to do a really good job avoiding the mana rifts and coming from Raikou, but I think that's going to be something that's very difficult to pull off.
So in the first map of a series on the Grand Arena, neither team knows what composition their opponents are going to be playing, and they have to guess based on the knowledge that they assume their opponents have. So the Pumpers lock in this composition, Balanced Druid, Unholy Death Knight, Mistweaver Monk, because they are expecting Method Black to play an Elemental Shaman Frost Mage. Method Black, expecting that expectation, switched it up and played their Demon Hunter Death Knight, and they are more than warmed up on it after their series in the lower bracket against ABC, and I almost certainly guarantee that Method Black have the advantage in this matchup.
Yep, Drainer gets caught into a stun as he moves in looking for a leg sweep. Vortex back, nicely done by Chaz, backing up his team. You can see Cervantes was looking for some pressure on Chaz, but Chaz was doing a good job running around the pillar, line of sighting that damage, and forcing Cervantes to run back and turn his attention somewhere else in the matchup. And it looks to be Raikou in this particular setup. Interrupt onto Raikou's I-Beam immediately. Good job there by Cervantes, slowing down some of that damage. Drainer just healing up through the pillar, potentially looking for a drink, but with Swapsy having his pet on him, I think it's going to be really difficult for Drainer to actually sit down and get some mana.
Yeah, it certainly is going to be. At least on the Grand, it's more neutral playing field. Perhaps he can get away. If he is unable to, the mana rift that Raikou is running is just going to tap Drainer out on mana. And most importantly, when Drainer has run out of mana, is that he will no longer be able to use Way of the Crane, which is a huge boost of damage and healing for the team. Luckily, he does have Innervate from Fnobber, so they can make it free. Perhaps if they can survive, I'm saying around the range of maybe 45 to 55% dampening. If they can survive to that point in the game, an Innervate, Way of the Crane, big push, perhaps they can kill Swapsy at that point. But of course, they have to make it to that mark, the 55% dampening mark, with that exact situation already set up. The Pumpers instead trying to mix it up, going after Chaz. I think Chaz is actually the most likely target to die before dampening. There's too much self-sufficiency between the Demon Hunter and the Death Knight. Your Balanced Druid is not going to build any momentum, especially not before dampening. They're basically immune to the damage the Boomkin does before dampening. Chaz isn't, and so he's the best target because he has no self-sufficiency. But still, if you focus too hard on one target against a Restoration Druid, he could just be in bear form, he can make sure that Life Bloom is on himself, and effectively not make himself a target, which is why the composition that Method Black are running is almost bulletproof.
Yeah, Fnaubers uses his Incarnation, really not able to get too much. I know it was the mini Incarnation, so there really wasn't too much of a waste there from Fnaubers, but I'm not exaggerating when I say this. Fnaubers has literally been in bear form for 99% of this game, just trying to get out as much damage as he can in Moonfire, trying to tank some of the burst. But like you said, Sid, I just feel like with the way Fnaubers is forced to play this matchup, I don't know how they are going to find counter pressure. Potentially with Incarnation, that massive cooldown that the Moonkin has available, they can look for a one-shot potential onto Chaz. He has no Bark Skin now. Potentially is a good opportunity for them to try to make something happen, but you can see Raikou and Swapsy kind of panicking, trying to keep Chaz alive as he is under immense pressure.
Yeah, I mean, this is their only target is Chaz, and with Innervate Way of the Crane, which is what they did for that push, they actually bursted him down quite low. Perhaps this will work for them. Just tank it out in bear form, make sure that you're not going to go down and maintain your mana the best that you can, and then when you've got your stun lock, your Way of the Crane, make for a big push onto the healer, try and overwhelm him. The only thing is, deeper in dampening, Darkness will protect Chaz from Incarnation. Anti-Magic Zone will also support. So having these team-wide cooldowns make that option even less appealing. But really, that's the best one that I've seen so far from the Pumpers here in game number 1. Fnaubers is ready to go. Drainer moves in to try and back up, but Anti-Magic Zone, this purple barrier traded out for Incarnation, should be enough to protect Chaz. They're trying to cut through it, but there's so much magic damage. I guess because nice Ring of Peace, but Darkness trades now. Maybe he gets punted out of the Darkness. That could definitely work for the Pumpers. Deeper into dampening. They line up 3 Maledict Trinkets, use the Ring of Peace during Darkness, boost their damage with Way of the Crane. Way of the Crane goes through Anti-Magic Zone because it's physical damage, although it negates Fnaubers and Cervantes. Drainer can then lead up and punish through with the 3 Maledict Absorption Trinkets. That's been my criticism, though, for the Pumpers throughout the entire tournament, is that they have not coordinated the 3 of those trinkets together. But if they go for a one-hit wonder, a miracle hit on Chaz with a Ring of Peace like that from Drainer, I think they can take it.
Drainer's been doing a really good job avoiding a lot of the mana risk from Raikou. You can see his mana quite well, still very healthy in this matchup. And interestingly enough, Drainer's playing Grapple Weapon as an honor talent, so trying to just reduce Raikou or Swapsy's mana or damage whenever he can by removing their weapon and really preventing the amount of damage that they're able to do. It also stops them from using a lot of their self-healing. So Swapsy has no weapon, he can't use Death Strike, and obviously when Raikou has no weapon, he's going to be limiting the amount of damage he does, and that's going to prevent a lot of his self-healing as well. So I like the choice. Later on in dampening, it could be a big factor as to why potentially Raikou or Swapsy goes down if they use it correctly. Chaz gets pressured down once again, forced to use the Renewal. That's a massive cooldown that he has. He had some self-healing on himself. It seems like Chaz was prepared for this strategy, given that talent choice. He knew he was most likely going to be the one that does go down, so having that Renewal as backup, I think, is intelligent. We're now at 6% dampening, and in terms of mana, these healers are relatively equal.
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually starting to think this composition can work, but of course they have to execute on it. If they're not coordinated, if they don't properly use all of their crowd control at the same time and all of their Maledicts at the same time, then I don't think they're going to be able to take it. The sustained pressure is going to be in favor of Method Black due to their self-sustainability, having that Demon Hunter over the Balanced Druid, as well as the heal over time effects. Imprison denies Drainer's Way of the Crane. Fnaubers dips low as a result. They overlap defensive cooldowns. Fortunately, it is not the Life Cocoon, so Life Cocoon is a good cycle with Barkskin. You don't usually want to use those at the same time. Another kill attempt after Chaz here in dampening. Anti-Magic Zone. Ring of Peace, not going to be committed. They want to save Ring of Peace for Darkness. I think that's a wise decision, as Darkness is guaranteed survival, whereas Anti-Magic Zone, there is some potential that Chaz will fall. Chaz is starting to struggle, and this bulletproof composition that Method Black have crafted is starting to look like it could crack here to the Pumpers in game 1.
Yeah, this is the first time we've really seen Method Black on the back foot in a matchup like this. The Pumpers coming up with a good answer, it seems. Fnaubers really hasn't been under too much pressure. Drainer's been doing a really good job avoiding the mana rifts as he gets caught into a double stun. That one does land, reducing his mana by quite a bit. I want to see what Chaz's mana is at this particular point in the game. I think he's been in bear form for a while, haven't had an opportunity to see, and he is actually now secured a lead in the matchup. Drainer falling a little bit behind, but with Way of the Crane, at any moment he could activate that to increase his damage and also top off his entire team if he really needs it. It's just such an expensive spell. You really have to be careful when you use it. He opts to use it now, looking for some damage. Darkness gets dropped out by Raikou. That was interesting. How do you feel about that Darkness?
He's just trying to go 1-for-1 with the Incarnation, but there was no stun and it wasn't on Chaz. Darkness needs to be saved, I think, to save Chaz. I mean, the other two targets have so much sustainability. We're not deep in dampening. It was definitely not of critical urgency to use it. I guess the downside of if you don't use Darkness as soon as Incarnation is activated is that the next time Incarnation comes on cooldown, if Fnaubers pulls it instantly, he won't actually have Darkness for 10 seconds and maybe someone dies in that window. So it's more of a precautionary measure for the next Incarnation. There's a downside to both options because Darkness does not last for the full duration of Incarnation. So Fnaubers should pop that, bait Darkness, wait for it to fade, then go, or wait for a Ring of Peace to knock the target out of its safety. But at this point, there's a mana advantage for the Pumpers. Chaz is definitely falling behind in that regard, and perhaps this composition can work, although Method Black have an answer for it with their Rogue Mage. But if they lose the blind pick, they won't have the swing match advantage. So the Pumpers have definitely come prepared here for the tournament if they can hold on a tad bit longer. Innervate available in 30 seconds, so that Innervate Way of the Crane push is going to be how the Pumpers can get a kill on Chaz.
Yeah, this damage on Fnaubers is becoming more significant, and that means Drainer is going to have to use a lot more mana keeping him alive. He can no longer just rely on the Serpent Jade statue and the Renewing Mist. He's going to have to start throwing out some Enveloping Mist, and that becomes very expensive for the Mistweaver Monk. Chaz now caught into a stun. The Pumpers have to make something happen. Method Black securing more and more of a lead in this matchup. Swapsy still with Anti-Magic Zone, going to be making his team feel relatively safe. Drainer with an Innervate, pops his Way of the Crane, looking for additional damage onto Chaz, who does drop lower. Iron Bark, the last line of defense. Anti-Magic Zone gets dropped out as well, so Method Black has traded out every single defensive that they have available at this time to keep Chaz alive during this Way of the Crane. Now Drainer almost completely tapped on mana as Raikou once again secures another mana rift. Are they looking to take down Drainer in this specific situation? Looks like Swapsy's turning his attention onto Drainer, looking for some pressure. Chaz still not out of the woods yet. I don't know how much longer he can survive, Sid.
I mean, it's looking grim for both sides if you just look at the mana resource. That mana rift has finally tied mana at 31% dampening. Healing is going to be really difficult. It's going to be a race to the finish. Even though I say the Pumpers have an opportunity to win, they haven't really been able to completely execute on it. The Ring of Peace defensively here, that Ring of Peace has to be used to deny Darkness or Anti-Magic Zone. I don't think they have enough damage to kill without it. Drainer is trying to just punch Chaz because he doesn't have mana to heal. Then portaling away at the end of the stun to recover. No Innervate for some time. Drainer's going to need to rely on Mana Tea to access that Way of the Crane, but even with that, he might not even have enough mana, especially if Raikou can keep hitting these mana rifts, that it's going to be another minute and 46 seconds. Can Drainer heal his team for another minute and 40 seconds with 0 mana? I don't really think he can. Fnaubers is so low, the sustained pressure in favor of Method Black. You can see that lack of self-healing really evident here as Fnaubers is likely to fall. They showed signs of life with this strategy, but ultimately Method Black are going to crush them in game 1 and gain the swing match advantage.
We talk about those mind games too, and ultimately bringing in that Druid seemed like they won the mind games, right, Zico?
No.
The whole thing that we were talking about is them being so scared of Rogue Mage, but the Druid just doesn't even seem to work here.
Well, what it comes down to is they want to play the Moonkin and the Death Knight into the Frost Mage Elemental Shaman. That's the matchup that they beat ABC on. That's the matchup that they beat, I don't know, some other team as well earlier on in the series. Wildcard Gaming, yes, that's the one. So they've already beaten Mage Ellie twice with this series, with this matchup, sorry. And it's kind of evident that that's what they are scared of from Method Black. It's a big map. They are scared that Method Black locks in that Mage Ellie. Method Black, though, calls the bluff, locks in their cleave. And Method Black's cleave is actually afraid of the Pumpers' cleave with the Warrior. So if the Pumpers stuck to their guns and picked the Warrior and the Death Knight, I'm pretty sure that's the matchup that they won Method Black with earlier on. So that's the matchup that they wanted. Method Black actually wins the blind.
Okay, so now that we do see, is this a back and forth now? Like, do you
I think so.
Does it 100%? Okay, so what we're expecting is next game they come out and win off the loss, and then just keeps going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Sid, before we get into that game in particular, how does that rhythm get broken up?
I mean, maybe map selection. That's how we saw Drainer's team able to stay ahead. So if they want to pick something like Blade's Edge Arena when they're looking to set up their Death Knight Warrior, maybe that can overcome the disadvantage that they would face when facing the Wizard Cleaves, as there's not very many places to go. It's definitely going to come down to the map picks and picking the right ones. So if you're, I think if you're Drainer's team, maybe you save Blade's Edge for a little bit later as it was so effective earlier on the tournaments. Maybe you go for something that's more neutral, no big map, no small maps. So something like Tiger's Peak. I think in game 2, Tiger's Peak is the safest pick. You can at least then guarantee a comp advantage with no sort of map influence.
Okay, so map's going to be absolutely key here. So with everything, too, that was just said, what does it seem like the next compositions are going to be getting locked in?
What does Method Black think is their best blind? That really is the question for me. I don't know exactly how the Warrior Death Knight stacks up against the Demon Hunter Death Knight, so potentially that's an even matchup, and if that is the case, then I think Method Black should just lock in the exact same composition, because that would give them a good chance against basically everything they can play against. If it's a large map, maybe they just go with the Elemental Shaman with the Frost Mage. Although we did see that matchup play out on Hook Point, it was really close. ABC actually managed to almost beat the Pumpers in that matchup. They had some really good burst on Cervantes. He managed to survive at 5% HP. Maybe Method Black could just play that a little bit better than ABC and potentially get a win there. So that's definitely an option for them. I think it really depends on what the map is, and once we see that, we'll be able to gather a little bit more information.
Zico, what do you think that the line is?
Well, I think, okay, so we're going to know what the map pick is. So essentially what it comes down to for Method Black is, what would you rather fight? The Cleave of the Pumpers as Rogue Mage Druid, or the Moonkin Death Knight as Mage Ellie? On this map, maybe the Mage Ellie is the play.
I think so.
We saw ABC almost beating them out on Hook Point, like you mentioned. So it didn't look too awful of a matchup. It definitely looked like the Pumpers were a little bit favored. If they managed to drag the game out into dampening, then they win that way. So Method Black thinks that the Demon Hunter and the Death Knight into the Warrior Mistweaver Death Knight is a better matchup than the Moonkin DK into the Wizard Cleave. So
it makes sense. They can pull the map advantage. So a Druid on Tolvaron is likely to be able to drink a lot and reset the mana for a later game kill. So I think there's so many decisions they could make, because it makes sense to go with the Wizard Cleave because it's Tolvaron, but it also makes sense that you could just get drinks with the Druid on the melee Cleave and try and just win through Mana Rift as they've been doing throughout the entire day. So I still think it's a good pick, even if it's not what we expected.
I think it's a good takeaway as well from the Pumpers. I think that there is more there's more smaller maps than there is large maps. For the large maps, we already spoke about it a little bit earlier. Mugambala is not the map that people kind of are picking right now, whereas on the small maps, people are picking Black Rook Hole, people are picking Hook Point, and people are picking Blade's Edge. So there's a lot of options there. Mugambala is very unlikely to get locked in, even if you want to go for the Wizard Cleave. So the Pumpers taking away Tolvaron is very nice for them, and then they only have to worry about the Asha mains later on if they fight that Wizard Cleave as their melee cleave. So it's a good takeaway from the Pumpers to take Tolvaron, but I'm not sure how the matchup actually works. And also, I'm not entirely sold here. Do we see Fnobbers here on Resto Druid for the Pumpers? Because it's a big map. I'm not sure how effective the Mistweaver is going to be compared to a Resto Druid. Fnobbers is, I mean, we've been seeing him on Moonkin all day long. If you don't know, though, his main is a Resto Druid.
Well, what we did see from Drainer in the last game, and I have to give him some credit, he was playing Human, so he has every man for himself, in addition to Relentless, and Relentless seems to be the one thing that can slow down the mana rifts just a little bit. Raiku's going to have to combo multiple stuns together in order to land those mana rifts or use the Imprisonment, and the fact that Drainer also has the Trinket with every man for himself allows him to get out of more mana rifts more frequently, and he was able to hold on to mana for a long time, whereas if Nobbers came in on the Resto Druid, he doesn't have access to every man for himself, and I think he's going to be a little bit more susceptible to mana burns, and I think the Mistweaver play definitely could be good just because he does have the option to hold on to that mana just a little bit longer.
Yeah, and ultimately, too, this is the cleave that basically you were saying we wanted to see. If you are the Pumpers, this is the cleave that you did want to put into what Method Black does have here, and now they're going to have that, but they don't have it on the exact rhythm that they do want to have it on. How does Tolveron come into play?
Well, Tolveron, I think, favors Method Black. When it's two cleaves going head-to-head, the smaller map is not going to be that effective, but if you are facing a Resto Druid, the large map for sure is going to be good for you because the Resto Druid is more likely to get away and get those drinks, whereas on the side of the Pumpers, they don't have a Resto Druid. He's not going to be needing to go for those drinks. Instead, it's going to be much harder for them to stop the drinks from Chaz. So I think Method Black, they did the right thing here, locking this comp in and using the Resto Druid. The Resto Druid is really the only one who gets a big lead on that map like this.
And a lot of people are probably already familiar with the change that we saw that basically started off week number 2. Now in week number 3, a lot of the players are much more used to it. But for Sid, for anyone who doesn't know exactly how mana was impacted around week number 2, what are the changes?
Yeah, I mean, mana regeneration across the board was nerfed significantly for all healers, but most notably for Restoration Druids, which now means that they need to sneak away from combat, drop into stealth, drink, and regenerate their mana to be able to contend with healers that we've seen so far, being Mistweaver Monks and Restoration Shamans. Fortunately, if you're still playing on the Paladin and the Disc Priest, you're also going to need to drink, but you don't have access to the Prowl ability that Druids bring, which is why we see basically no Paladins and no Discipline Priests. But if you're a Shaman or a Mistweaver, you can go toe-to-toe so long as your drink denial is good on the Druid.
Yeah, and ultimately, you're going to see a lot of people playing Night Elf as well. A lot of Alliance happening when you are playing Druid because you can just get that Shadow Meld, get out of combat, go into Cat form, go into Prowl, like Sid said, and get that drink. That is something that we've seen quite a bit of. Are there any other interesting selections that we could see as far as race is concerned on either of these teams?
Well, when we saw Method Orange play some of these cleave mirrors against the boys, they were playing Night Elf a lot of the time, and we were kind of discussing it a little bit amongst ourselves. One of the reasons was because you could Shadow Meld that Maledict Trinket and they line up, but I think we should expect maybe Cervantes either on a Gnome and Nerd Rage probably on a Dwarf, if I had to guess. Drainer for sure should be Human. So I think both teams should definitely be playing Alliance here, just because the Dwarf Racial removes that Maledict Trinket, the debuff that soaks up that healing when it's already on you. So you can kind of remove that with your Racial. Then you can remove the second one with the Dispel. And then, of course, the rest of Druids, we already spoke about it. Shadow Meld allows them to get more drinks. And then Method Black can have to play around that. As we see, Cervantes is, what race is he? Human.
Yep. He's going to be playing Human in this matchup. Swapsy Human as well. Have to see Drainer already getting targeted down by Raikou. In the last game, he did a good job avoiding the mana rifts. We want to see that once again. He's actually not playing the Relentless in this game, so it will be a little bit easier for Raikou to secure those mana rifts if they really need it. Now Chaz getting swapped to in this matchup. Nerd Rage intervening as well, putting on a little bit of pressure. Way of the Crane gets activated by Drainer, so they're looking for an all-in on Chaz. Can Chaz survive? This could be the potential Darkness dropping in from Raikou as they both get double stunned. Raikou trinkets down, drops the Darkness, Ring of Peace activated. Chaz getting lower, has to drink it out, kites away, gets gripped back in by Cervantes, and the Pumpers destroy Method Black in game number 2.
Method Black going to be pumped down by the Pumpers, and ultimately we expect this game to go this way as far as the Pumpers winning, but to do it that quick, Zico, how does that happen?
Well, we're going to get to probably see the entirety of the game, I think, but it comes down to Chaz honestly not expecting it. So in the previous game when he was targeted, we kind of commended Chaz for playing the renewal and playing very defensive talents. I think this time around though, Chaz was maybe playing either the Feral Affinity or the Moonkin Affinity. Definitely didn't look like he was playing that Bear Form Affinity. You can see Drainer as well, playing Trinket, playing that Way of the Crane. A lot of offense here, and the CC chain gets started off with Raikou getting incapacitated. He's gonna go for the Mana Rift. So far everything looks standard. Now Chaz sits this initial stun here, uses his Bark Skin to deflect that. War Banner gets dropped. Nerd Rage is piling up onto Chaz here. We see a lot of damage with that Way of the Crane as well. And here, the Darkness, Ring of Peace, beautifully done here by Drainer, knocking Chaz out. The Gladiator Safeguard is not going to be able to do enough. Nice Death Grip from Cervantes as well, holding on to it. And I feel like I'm missing something.
Chaz
oh yeah, he didn't use his Iron Bar.
He didn't use his Iron Bar forever. That was a big misplay by Chaz, and one of the first we've seen from him, but definitely not respecting.
He was hoping that Darkness would be enough.
Yeah, but once he got knocked out of that, there was still a lot of time for him to get that.
That was the first time they coordinated. The Pumpers all coordinated. It was 3 Maledicts. They denied Darkness. If they can do that, maybe they can still take the whole series. Obviously, Chaz could have responded immediately using Iron Bark, but if that situation happens in Dampening, I don't know if it is enough. So,
hey, using that Ring of Peace like that, using that Way of the Crane there, everything just lined up. That's exactly what you said. And it now, we can see the potential of the Pumpers. Will that work when they don't have that advantage when they're picking their comp? We're going to find out when we return. Is able to do. But at the same time, it's a double-edged sword because he's one of those players that if you let them control the game, they sure as heck are going to do it.
Yeah, it's a double-edged blade, if you will, Rich. You can't really expect to go after Swapsy because Swapsy has that Ghost Wolf, and he will always be suppressing those slows, dragging it out to the open, and then, of course, we'll see the Frostmage slows, and then he will just be able to reverse that when you are mispositioned. So Swapsy not going to be the target of choice here for the Pumpers. That is for sure. And now we can see what strategy they decide to go for. I honestly want to see early pushes on Raikou or just a grip into Chaz and another all-in attempt like the one we saw on Tolvern Arena. Could potentially catch Chaz off guard as he is not playing
yeah, he's not playing that. And ultimately, we can see very quickly he's not.
Renewal.
Yeah, there you go.
That's it. Sorry.
Yep.
You got it.
Very early on, we saw Drainer actually roll. Now, most Mistweaver Monks, they opt into Chi Torpedo for their mobility instead of Tiger's Lust, but I think what Drainer's doing is very intelligent, opting into Tiger's Lust as a talent choice, which is going to allow him to help Nerd Rage get out of the various Novas that Raikou will certainly put him in this matchup, giving him a little bit more uptime on his target. I think those Tiger's Lust can really add up in a matchup, so if you're a Mistweaver at home, definitely consider that if you are playing a cleave setup like this and you're struggling against a mage team.
Yeah, most certainly. Drainer is going to have to look for Drink Denial on Chaz, but on this large map, that is really a difficult task to actually accomplish. Raikou getting bursted down, and in this push, they pulled Temporal Shield and the Iron Bark, so for the next one, I would like to see an all-out Maledict aggressive push, get an Ice Block out of the way, set it up again, rinse and repeat, clean and easy. If they can pull that off, the Pumpers may be able to just rely on this Warrior Death Knight composition for the rest of the finals.
Yeah, definitely an option for them. If they can win here, it's going to be huge for the Pumpers. This is the swing match that they need, and we really can't count them out. We've seen them time and time again go up against this setup and really put a lot of pressure on the enemy team, forcing out multiple ice blocks in a matchup. They just sort of trip right on the finish line before they can actually close it out. It's usually the third Icy Veins of the game that is enough damage for the Frost Mage to really punish these cleavers. When the healing is reduced from Death Strike and Drainer's healing gets reduced, the crowd control changes are really adding up, and Drainer actually eventually has been going out of mana in a lot of these longer games. Cervantes, once again, all over Swapsy, trying to just put some pressure out there. Raikou's been doing a really good job kiting around. You can tell that the Black, they know they need to stall out the game. Raikou not afraid to just spam Polymorph on Nerd Rage. Burst him down when he does finally get away. That also buys Chaz a little bit of time to sneak away and get drinks, which he has done in this matchup. Now sitting at 100% mana, going to be feeling very healthy.
Yep, and if you're just tuning in for the first time today, we are in the grand finals of the European Spring Season Cup number 3. We're currently tied up between the Pumpers and Method Black, but Method Black were able to win the first map, which means they have the swing match advantage, and the Pumpers need to overcome that, which is currently what they're engaged in right now. They have to beat Method Black's Wizard Cleave composition on a very big map. However, in the second match, they picked the largest map and were able to overcome it, and you can't play the same map twice in a series. So if the Pumpers manage to win this, remove 2 of the biggest maps from the pool out of play, that could actually be a way for them to take the entire series is just off of maps alone, because we have seen these Restoration Druids struggling in close quarters. There are more small maps than big maps, and the Pumpers could take advantage of it. Ring of Peace knockback on Swapsy, pinning him in the corner, as it looks like the Pumpers are trying to mix it up and go after a different target. Perhaps Deep and Dampening, they can do an overwhelming 3-man push on the Elemental Shaman. Ice Block immunes you to all damage. Astral Shift does not, even though it is a damage reduction cooldown, it's not a complete immunity. There may be a chance that Method Black get overwhelmed if the Pumpers go after Swapsy that deep into Dampening.
Yeah, this is the debut of the Pumpers this season in these tournaments, and it's really important to them that they get a first place finish. They need all the points that they can get if they want to try to start securing enough to make it to that spring finals, whereas Method Black, they have already won the first 2. If they can somehow win this game, win this series, they're going to be looking like one of the most dominant teams we've ever seen again. So this is a really good year for Method Black. They've seemed to brought all the right compositions, playing out the right strategies, just such a solid team, very impressive. And I feel like the Pumpers definitely have a lot of work ahead of them.
Yeah, it's going to be a hard-fought battle for sure. They're map disadvantaged, comp disadvantaged, everything just disadvantaged here in game number 3. But if they overcome it, I think they take the entire series. So let's see if they can keep it together. They cannot battle against that disadvantage with half heart. They definitely need to be fully invested in this match. They can't afford to be lazy. They can't afford to be uncoordinated. They can't afford to be demotivated, because even if there is only a 1% chance that they can do it, if they get it, they can get the entire thing. And they are a newcomer in terms of points. This would be definitely a phenomenal performance on their part to get a first place finish. They could overthrow the top 4 qualifying to the spring finals. So for sure, the Pumpers need to play this out. It's going to be a long, fatiguing battle. They can't afford to make any mistakes throughout. We've seen what happens if you make a mistake. Chaz in game 2 erased within seconds of the match starting. So can the Pumpers keep it together and play at a top level throughout this extended series?
Sid, I gotta say, as much as you say the Pumpers are disadvantaged in pretty much every regard, you gotta remember Method Black did get knocked down by them already. We know that this is a team that, regardless of if they're disadvantaged, if they look disadvantaged here, it's a question of, did Method Black figure out something new? Because the Pumpers have already shown that they can do it. I know you're also putting a lot of stress, though, ultimately on the fact that we did see Method pull down the first game in this series, which is going to have a big impact, but there is more potential for a shakeup in a best of 7 than there is in a best of 5. And the Pumpers are one of the only teams that have really been able to step to Method Black.
I mean, we spoke to Swapsy, and Swapsy said at the end of the series, the first time these teams went to head-to-head, is that, well, we had the answer, we just didn't get to pull it off. Chaz had a bit of a technical issue, and that series was a bit of a write-off as a result. So it may be the case that Swapsy was correct in his saying here that they had an answer for the Pumpers overall in the day, and because they won the blind pick, unless the Pumpers can overcome a disadvantage like this in game 3, then they can always just set up the best location and the best composition, and I'm starting to think it may be unlikely. The Pumpers need to coordinate together. So far this match, I have not seen much in terms of coordination. Perhaps they're just saving their efforts for saving their gas for later in the fight when dampening is higher, and then just try and pump it all out at that point. I'm not sure, but it's not looking good unless they can get it together.
Yeah, this particular matchup is looking a lot different than we saw when ABC played against Nerd Rage. Raikou with his Water Elemental as well as Ice Nova, he's going to have a lot more routes for Nerd Rage to deal with, and I think it's going to be becoming increasingly difficult for him to get away. There's a Tiger Thrust coming in from Drainer, but he just gets immediately snared up once again. Now a knockback coming in from Swapsy, as Cervantes and Nerd Rage trying to convene on one target. There's one Gladiator's Maledict. Swapsy actually getting lower. He's already used the Astral Shift as well as his Safeguard, just trying to kite back to the safety of Raikou, who's looking for some Polymorph spam. managing to find one on Drainer, but it's broken, unfortunately. Cervantes still trying to play aggressive with his anti-magic shell. As I was saying, Raiku's build is going to be a lot more difficult for Nerd Rage to maintain the uptime we saw in Dalaran Sewers when he was playing against Alec.
Yeah, most certainly is the case. Let's see if Drainer can keep it up. He's doing a great job so far in terms of efficiency, but they need more execution, they need more coordination. Obviously, as I say that, it is really difficult to do. They're sticking to their split DPS strategy on a big map. If they get separated too much, it can be very difficult. But it does seem to be that they want to go after Swapsy, so they may not be looking for that 3 Maledict Ice Block push, 3 Maledict Ice Block push. Instead, 3 Maledicts, kill Swapsy, or we lose. And they might just be able to do it, playing at a disadvantage. Swapsy dips dangerously low, Chaz desperately trying to recover. The one real problem with hitting Swapsy on that Shaman is Ghost Wolf, which he can use to suppress that Chains of Ice snare from the Death Knight, kite away, and avoid all damage. So Swapsy needs to be on his toes and use that Ghost Wolf effectively to deny this strategy from the Pumpers.
Yep, that is going to be a very effective counter to the Chains of Ice. Cervantes on that Unholy Death Knight has one of the best snares in the entire game. I think there's only a few as good, so definitely a really powerful tool in order to stay on your target, but luckily for Swapsy, with Ghost Wolf, he can suppress that entirely and make space. That's why often you'll see him go into Ghost Wolf when he's targeted, and he just runs in a straight line, trying to just create as much distance as soon as possible, relying on Raichu to make sure he's getting those snares on Cervantes and Nerd Rage to buy him a little bit of time and freedom. Now a nice little swap onto Raichu. Nerd Rage reconnects, looking for some pressure. Chaz responds with the Iron Bark, and now the Pumpers, 25% dampening, no Temporal Shield, no Iron Bark, no nothing really for Method Black. They need to start forcing out these ice blocks, and I think they could just get one right now, Sid.
Yeah, this is a coordinated effort on the part of the Pumpers. They're definitely looking clean here in game number 3. Can they take it all the way? If they manage to win on Tolvaron and Ashamain, those are the biggest maps. You can't play them again. It's very important. The Pumpers have an opportunity if they can just stick it out a little bit longer. Being a melee cleave against a Frost Mage is definitely not the best time, but they're doing great so far, and this is the first time that we've really seen Method Black struggle in the tournament setting. Perhaps the Pumpers could be the next rise to power in the European region, securing tons of damage here early on. Crowd control looks good. If they can get a second ice block before their Maledicts, they definitely can close. Cervantes protecting Nerd Rage there as he overextends. However, a big overlap in defensive cooldowns. Mistakes were made there on the side of the Pumpers. They exposed themselves massively now with anti-magic zone, way of the crane out of the way, die by the sword. All 3 members now are limited, and as I said, they were doing great in terms of pressure and coordination. Their defense just got blown out.
Yeah, they used literally pretty much everything they have. Drainer used his Trinket as well in that exchange, so he's very susceptible to a Polymorph. Now at 33% dampening, Cervantes could be a good target, but Swapsy under fire. Forced to trade out the Astral Shift. Chaz does have a little bit of mana left in the tank, but Drainer has actually secured a lead, and if the Pumpers can maintain this pressure, swapping between Raikou, swapping between Swapsy, then Chaz is going to have a really difficult time maintaining that mana later on in the fight.
Yeah, it's going to be a very rough road for the Pumpers here, trying to battle it out to the bitter end despite the disadvantage. They set themselves up well aggressively, but then completely threw the fight potentially away here defensively. They're still trying to keep up the charge. All 3 members marching. Temporal Shield now out of the way. If they can get an Iron Bark and then make a coordinated play on those Maledicts, they can secure the second ice block, look to reset, and do it again for the kill. Will they be able to stay alive to that point? I feel like they were so close against ABC on Dalaran Sewers, and then Nerd Rage defensively just wasn't responding to the damage in time. So the Pumpers definitely have potential here against Method Black as they look to get the second ice block on this way of the crane. Raikou needs to avoid Drainer at all costs, but intimidating shot with no Gliders Medallion on 3 more seconds. They just need to connect. Nice Mind Freeze. Great coordination aggressively by the Pumpers. Their offense is way better. If they can just squeak up their defense a little bit, they're going to be able to take this.
Yeah, Raikou could be in a lot of trouble. Full Cyclone secured by Chaz onto Drainer. Cervantes and Nerd Rage caught in midfield, and things can snowball out of control quite quickly here for the Pumpers if they stay in the open for too long. But Raikou with no Icy Veins, I think he might struggle to find the pressure that he needs. Nerd Rage still sitting in the anti-magic zone as he charges forward with the Life Cocoon from Drainer. Drainer getting interrupted. Now still some definitely crowd control. Nerd Rage getting bursted down lower. Raikou in a lot of trouble as well. Ironbark, the last line of defense for Chaz to actually keep him alive. Raikou trying to kite away. Beautiful Ring of Peace, knocking Raikou back into Cervantes. Nerd Rage reconnects. And this is trouble time for Raikou. Temporal Shield, he has to hold on a little bit longer. Chaz has no mana in execute range, and the Pumpers managed to do it on the swing match, turning this series in their favor.
You know, in that matchup, Sid, when you were casting, you just said the Pumpers have everything against them, everything stacked up against them. Ultimately, losing that first game is going to be tough. You have maps against you have comps against you. And then we've heard from Swapsy that he's so confident to be able to take this series. Zico, what does this tell you?
I don't know. It tells me that Method Black are in big, big trouble because now they are the ones on the back foot. They have to win a swing match, and they don't have big maps to work with either if it comes down to the Mage Elemental. And this is the strategy that we wanted to see from the Pumpers, where they push in together, they get the ice blocks after they force out the Ironbark and the Temporal Shield. But what a way to do it, honestly. Drainer really managed to keep his mana for this last push here. And the fact that he has enough mana as well to activate that final Way of the Crane is just beautiful, honestly. He manages to get it right there, and that is really the main thing that's going to be able to push Raikou over the edge there. You can see this is the moment that Method Black wants to be in, where Drainer just has no mana left. There's no more Way of the Crane to worry about. Instead, they're going to lose on that push, and that's the Ashamane's fault. That's the Mage Ellie, and this for sure was the game that I was expecting Method Black to win. And if they were gonna lose with this comp, I would expect it to be on maybe Tiger's Peak or like one of the smaller maps.
Yeah, exactly. And then you just see Drainer, he's able to get that Way of the Crane and just comes in there and ultimately puts him into execute range, and then that's all said and done. Now the question is, what does this next series look like? Or sorry, not this next series, this next map, what does it look like here? Are we going to see Method Black be able to at least stabilize?
This is what I think. Method Black, they'll go to a large map. Then I think for the Pumpers, they can easily just lock in the same composition. That didn't look too bad for them in that last matchup. Obviously, they won it, so I think this bet is the best result you can get. And I think Method Black, they really have no choice but to lock in that same matchup. So I think it's going to be the exact same comps on a large map. Once again, Method Black just has to really clean up their offense a little bit more and try to secure a kill.
At this point, do you start saying that you think the Pumpers are going to win it, Sid?
Yeah, I'm a Pumpers fan now.
Now, just after that game?
Well, I said on that game, if they can win that game, that they can win the whole series.
Yeah, true.
I said that.
It was looking grim there for a moment. He's like, there is no way that this team, everybody. But now he's a Pumper.
I mean, now that they they overcame the worst possible odds.
True.
I mean, of course they could throw it away and I just commentator curse them or something, but based on the performance on that map, which like their defense was a little bit weak at one point, if they just clean that up, their comp looks like it can beat pretty much everything that Method Black have tried so far throughout the season. Unless Method Black have something that we haven't seen yet.
You know, when you look at metas, there's always an evolution, right? And there's always that point where all of a sudden that new comp comes out that beats the other comps. Sometimes it's just players actually learning more and more about certain things. Let's say in this example, where Warrior really fits in. Sometimes it's just direct answers to what is super prevalent and what you see other teams bringing. In this case, it almost seems like they've figured out kind of that next cleave. It's almost that jump forward into the future, and this could have ripples into the next tournament. It could have ripples into North America as well. It does seem like the Pumpers have figured out quite a bit here.
Yeah, the Pumpers, I mean, at this point, you lock in the same thing for sure. If you're the Pumpers, you go Mistweaver, Warrior, DK again, and Method Black. Like Manruki already said, they're going to be forced into locking that Mage Elemental, most likely, unless they have some secret weapon that we don't know about yet. It wouldn't make any sense to bring that out even here, though, because they have that counter pick advantage now that they lost. So we're going to very likely see the same matchup again, only on a smaller map, which means that it's going to be even harder than the game on Ashamane's Fall. The Pumpers look like they are getting more and more comfortable with the matchup. They fixed some of those things that we were criticizing them for against ABC, and now all of a sudden, they are the ones holding that swing match advantage should we go to Game 7.
Yeah, I think the thing is if Method Black, it's really important that you do bring it up. If maybe Swapsy was so confident because of a secret composition that they have, it wouldn't come out in this game, it would come out in the next game. That is what makes the most sense.
I don't think there's a secret comp. I mean, to be honest with you. I feel like The reason the Pumpers composition is so strong now is because of the mana changes. Resto Druids can't rely on Cyclone as much as they used to. Like Restoration Druids right now are forced to run away consistently throughout the match. Drainer on his Mistweaver Monk, he's chilling. His mana's staying high. He can continue to play aggressive, keep his team afloat, and any time that we see Chaz run and try to get drinks, that's when they can really punish and push forward. And Chaz, later on in the game, he can't be looking for Cyclones as a defensive play just because it costs them way too much mana, and they end up falling behind and losing because of it. And that's why I feel like it sort of has evolved where Rogue Mage Druid is no longer an answer to what the Pumpers are bringing, and now potentially even this composition isn't a direct counter.
Yeah, and for anyone, any of the believers out there, anybody who wants to believe, what would the secret comp be in your mind, Sid?
Secret comp in my mind? I mean, Swapsy in the past to counter Cleave played Rep Paladin, but
Here we go.
I'm going through all the options, man. He wanted a surprise. I'm trying to go through all the options.
Sid is the fun one.
They used to play Ret in other tournaments to out-cleave the other Cleave, so...
Played Ret Warrior, that's true.
Maybe, I don't know. I feel like maybe trying Rogue Mage and doing what we saw ABC tried to do, where they were making swaps to Drainer, is still an option. Obviously, they should just win with the Elemental Shaman Frost Mage, but Pumpers have been having so much practice against it throughout the day and making improvements all along the way that I don't think it's going to keep working the way that it used to.
When you can think of the ultimate counter to a Warrior Death Knight, it would be Frost Mage, Elemental Shaman, Resto Druid. I mean...
Yeah, it's that's why you have to start looking for the Tooth Fairy in this matchup, right?
Yeah, the Ret Paladin.
That's why I went to Sid.
I wonder if Warrior Elemental Shaman would be good against this.
Thunder?
It used to be.
I think Thunder could be really good.
Used to be.
Things are slowly starting to shift back to what we saw in the past. I actually think Thunder would be a decent answer. The Warrior has great consistent pressure. Warrior's not easy to take down. And then, of course, the Elemental Shaman as well. He can easily kite and get away in this matchup, has great burst and durability. That's definitely an answer for Method Black potentially, but I just don't know if that's something they have prepared.
That was kind of their comp too, that they were really focusing on last season. We are going to say the same comp for the reasons that you did just bring up as well. It does seem like it should be the composition that is really favored here, based off of the back of what that Mage can do. But yeah, Thunder was one of the comps that was really important for them last year, and you kind of saw Waz and Swapsy building that synergy. Then all of a sudden Pirates came along and they jumped ship to actually play that comp, and it looked fantastic. But now we're here and they need to find an answer, and you got to go to Sid here, who's one of the guys who will think about those crazy comps to see what they could be. But then you say, okay, they're not going to go for anything crazy. This is what they need to try to do. They just need to make this work.
Yeah, I think Method Black should probably just play the Mage Elemental in their pick for sure. It's the strongest comp. It's probably their most practiced comp as well. It's gotten them wins, and they should just chalk that last game up as a couple of mistakes on their end and just try to think about the next match. But if they do have some super secret weapon, that should for sure come out in the next game, and that comp should definitely not have an Affliction Warlock in it.
He didn't say Affliction Warlock. A lot of the times when he said Affliction Warlock,
guys are no fun.
I'm going to back him up. A lot of the times when he called for an Affliction Warlock,
is the no fun zone.
It wasn't the worst idea. A lot of the times when he called for Affliction Warlock, it wasn't the worst idea.
Yeah, I mean, we might as well see a Holy Priest.
No, why would you play a Holy Priest?
Ben was the dude who came into school one day like, Tooth Fairy's not real.
I defend my arguments,
by the way.
Okay? I don't just say Holy Priest and the end of it. I defend my arguments.
But with a fully printed out pamphlet on why the Tooth Fairy isn't real, just passing it out to everybody in school. I believe, Sid. I believe. I think a lot of the time when Sid does call for crazy things and then for some reason they do come out, they win. Sid was the first one talking about Warrior, and now you're saying Thunder. I'm going to give Sid some props here. Sid's crazy ideas work a lot of the time.
To be fair, we never thought that was a crazy idea.
Yeah, we didn't think that was a crazy idea.
Okay.
Now that it happened.
A Warrior cleave into a Death Knight. That's pretty standard.
I got you back.
Hey, and when you said Rogue Death Knight, I said I like it. Maybe the move should play that.
I have your back.
They did.
It's not just because I owe you one, because my dog keeps eating your Ethernet cables. I feel like you're right here. I feel like you are right here. But maybe we do see a Paladin come out. Maybe not. Maybe we.
Well, Swapsy plays it, so. I mean, it would be possible.
Well, that is
I
the
don't
thing that's
think
Hey,
it's
fun.
before
happened.
Taku played Outlaw last year, nobody played Outlaw. And if I had said Outlaw on the desk, everyone would be like, what are you talking about? Outlaw Rogue?
No, I will say Zico was calling for it.
I was crying for Outlaw Rogue
Yeah.
and Arcane Mage as well, for the record, when nobody was playing it.
Yeah.
That was the crazy one for a while there.
You and Lore were the only ones who ever backed up Arcane.
Yeah.
You were
And
the
look at
only
us now.
two.
The best hair
The best
on the
hair in
desk.
WoW. The best hair in WoW. But you do look at Method Black, and one of the reasons it's so fun to theorize and to actually think about what they can play is because they haven't even used Waz yet. You know, Waz can open up a lot of these. He does have the Warrior. You look at Swapsy, and he can play anything. If you wanted right now, he could probably come in and play like Resto Shaman. Like, I don't know. There's no limit to Swapsy at the end of the day. Chaz can play just about every healer in all seriousness, which makes them fantastic. And Raikou does just enough, right? He has the mage down pat to the level that he can play rogue mage, and then that demon hunter rounds out a lot of their composition. So they can do just about anything, but the pumpers don't need to have that luxury. They don't need to, because they are so good at what they do. That's the reason why Method Black needs to come up with an answer.
Yeah, I mean, right now, we don't really know what that answer is. Theoretically, this is the best comp that they have. I mean, if you wanted to craft the perfect composition to go against a Cleave, like a Death Knight and a Warrior, it would be a Frost Mage to bring all the snares, an Elemental Shaman who's not a great target, and a Druid who's not a great target.
What about an Arcane Mage?
You could bring in an Arcane Mage.
Who do you kill?
Nobody.
Exactly.
Yeah, you could bring in an
I think you
Arcane
kill
Mage.
Chaz.
The thing that's being exploited...
Ask him this.
The thing that's being exploited in this matchup is Raikou on the mage. Like, Raikou is just being tunneled down. His damage output is severely limited, especially when he's playing the Tunnel of Ice build. He's just not getting off the frost bolts that he needs in order to do good, consistent damage. And because of that, Cervantes and Nerd Rage, they're able to stay in the fight for an extended period of time and slowly get through the Iron Bark and the Temporal Shield before they're forced to run away. Normally what you'd see from these compositions is if these melee cleaves are in the open for too long, they don't have the time to get through both of those defensives and then continue to make an offensive push. But Raikou on the Frost Mage just doesn't have the damage to force them away.
And that was one of the reasons why Zico was really talking about some of these comps that we saw, like Ellie Rogue, taking the place of something like Mage Rogue. Why? Because it actually does provide that extra bit of survivability. It becomes that much harder to take down that Shaman instead of trying to take down a Mage. Mage going to have a target on its back here. Method Black, they're all going to have a target on their back. The pumpers feel comfortable. They want to get themselves on match point. If Method Black can't do it here, this is where you start to get scared.
Yeah, definitely. We'll have to see exactly what they can get done. We've seen this matchup play out a few times, and normally it takes a lot of dampening for it to end, and I expect that's exactly where we're headed, to Dampenville. But I think there's one opportunity that the pumpers have, and that is a coordinated assault with their Gladiator's Maledict Trinket. Just with the way that the pumpers play it, where Nerd Rage is splitting onto Raikou, Cervantes is splitting on Swapsy, they really limit the amount of output that Method Black has, at least in the early game. But this is a good amount of pressure on the Nerd Rage. Could force out some defensive cooldowns. Already banking an anti-magic zone. So they got that. They also got the Life Cocoon from Drainer, so not a bad start here for Method Black.
Yeah, Method Black looking pretty solid in this opener so far. Shaz gonna activate that Innervate so he can rotate that back up as soon as possible. Raikou now though getting gripped in with the Asphyxiate because the Drainer following that up as well with a leg sweep. Nice Ring of Peace, but Raikou is going to blink out of there. Swapsy, of course, playing the goalkeeper role essentially. Every single time we see the pumpers going into pump, we see Swapsy shutting that down, hexing the healer. There is no Curse Dispel on the side of the pumpers. And then, of course, oh, Cervantes is playing Dark Simulacrum. What did you steal there, Cervantes? We will have to find that out soon. But as I was saying, Swapsy, his role is to basically shut down the push as it happens and count the pressure, forcing Nerdridge to run back before Raikou is in that moment where they don't have Iron Block, they don't have the Temporal Shield, and they force out that Ice Block. Chaz, though, going to be sitting down for a drink. Cervantes taking a surprising amount of damage here, and we see Drainer as well is looking to push in. Swapsy, though, what is going on here? Chaz going to have to trinket out of that Asphyxiate stun. Swapsy going to use his Dark Iron Dwarf racial as well. A lot of damage here. Astral Shift being forced out. A lot of cooldowns here on Swapsy, and this is what happens when you don't have that big map to work with, Van.
Yeah, that is true. Swapsy having a difficult time kiting, and the pumpers were able to get Gladiator Safeguard, Astral Shift, Iron Bark, Trinket. Basically everything you want, but that was the push with their Gladiator's Maledict Trinkets. Without that healing reduction, I feel like it's going to be hard for them to actually take down Swapsy pre-dampening. Nerd Rage now getting Life Cocoon. Raikou trying to find some damage here. Actually managed to find a full sheep, but a beautiful pre-life cocoon. Drainer realizing he wasn't going to be able to get out of line of sight of that polymorph, throws out the life cocoon, and that's going to deny any sort of pressure coming in from Method Black. Raikou sort of realizing it. And this is unfortunate for Raikou as well, because he actually did use his Icy Veins there.
So Cervantes just stole a polymorph. That's why Shaz is in form right there. Look how Shaz is switching in and out of form. He knows Cervantes has the polymorph, and there it is. Full polymorph now. Swapsy in big trouble.
Definitely caught into a full stun. Can he survive? Is there any follow-up crowd control? Chaz gets gripped in, but there's just no follow-up CC. Very nice Ring of Peace keeping Swapsy in the line of fire of Cervantes and Nerd Rage, but he seems to be easily able to kite away, get topped off through that Iron Bark, and now Chaz smartly already running away, sitting down for a drink, and before I could say anything, he is topped completely on mana, resetting this fight.
Yeah, and this is the reason why we consistently say we want to see these pushes happen on the Frost Mage, not the Elemental Shaman, because if you take a look at Swapsy's defensive cooldowns, you can see his Astral Shift is now back up, his Trinket will slowly rotate back up, Chaz's Iron Bark as well as his Trinket are coming back up any second, which means that the game is basically entirely reset. Now, had they done that on the Mage, the Ice Block is a much longer cooldown, and that opens up more windows of opportunity as we see another full Hex here, landing by Swapsy. Chaz gonna go in for the Cyclone, but Cervantes shuts it down. Beautifully done there, and that's gonna force out the Life Cocoon there from Drainer as Nerd Ridge is looking at Raikou to try to counter pressure.
Yep, good counter pressure here, good counter engaged by the pumpers. Raikou getting lower, he gets interrupted on Frost, a bit of a scary moment, but with Iron Bark, oh, Chaz actually getting caught into a polymorph once again. Raikou has to be a little bit careful. Cervantes has been stealing these polymorphs consistently, banking a lot of defensive cooldowns. Now Chaz caught into a fear that breaks. Nice tremor from Swapsy as backup. That's going to free up Chaz and allow him to get some healing rolling, but in the future, Raikou, you need to be very careful with these Dark Simulacrums coming in from Cervantes. He's definitely getting the better end of those exchanges.
Ooh, Nerd Rage. What is going on here? Nerd Rage is sitting in that anti-magic zone, and Drainer doesn't have his Way of the Crane right now. No, oh, nice.
That was such a nice Cyclone from Chaz. Cyclone's Nerd Rage, Cyclone's his Trinket, denies Drainer any healing. They need to hold on a little bit longer. Drainer manages to find the heals that he needs and now has Life Cocoon, but that was a beautiful offensive push. And I feel like Method Black, they're actually playing much more aggressive in this matchup than we saw the last game. They're trying to close it out a little bit earlier on.
You can even see that from Swapsy, right? We talk about his positioning so many times. He's finding himself much more out in the open here, creating pressure himself, using those thunderstorms as soon as they get on top of him and still creating that space, but he's still getting into the front lines more, and Nerd Rage going to be the target yet again. And we're going to see that overlap here as soon as the Life Cocoon does go out. Drainer going to be locked up in that bash for a little bit into a Hex, but he is going to be able to get out of that. Nerd Rage healthy for now.
Yeah, I don't like that War Baron from Nerd Rage. Drainer had already trinketed the polymorph, so that incoming Hex was actually on diminishing return. Now there's going to be a pretty big opportunity here where Drainer doesn't have anything to work with. No trinket, no Life Cocoon for a little while, and Cervantes also doesn't have that anti-magic zone. However, he does have that Dark Simulacrum. He's going to be looking to steal that next polymorph from Raikou. There's also an opening here where Chaz doesn't have his trinket just yet, so Raikou needs to be very, very careful here with the next couple of seconds before Chaz Trinkets rotates back up, and Drainer as well and Nerd Rage, they're gonna just stay back here for a second, realizing that that Life Cocoon isn't ready. Cervantes taking a lot of damage though, has to activate that Icebound Fortitude. That's a 3-minute cooldown right there, getting netted for Method Black.
I don't know what's going on with Method Black, but they have turned up the heat here in game number 4 on Tiger's Peak. So much more pressure for them, and the Pumpers have had to play much more defensive on this map than we saw on Ashamane's Fall. Grip now onto Raikou, a little bit of burst damage. Beautiful Ring of Peace once again, knocking Raikou out of line of sight, but with Blink, with Shimmer, Raikou should be able to get to the midfield, and he does. Lands a full polymorph on Drainer. Cervantes caught in the midfield. Raikou looking for some damage once again. Nerd Rage basically hitting the only target that he can on Swapsy. Another preemptive Life Cocoon there, denying that setup from Drainer. Very nicely done. Unfortunately, Method Black really not able to find the pressure that they needed with that full polymorph. Drainer's been doing a really good job with those preemptive plays, with those Life Cocoons, making sure he knows when he can't get away from Raikou's Shimmer polymorphs, he can just throw out that Life Cocoon and absorb a lot of the incoming damage while he sits that crowd control.
And look at the formation here from Method Black. You have Raikou on one side of the pillar, Swapsy on the other side of the pillar, but now we see another push, probably going to be deflected with the Iron Bark. There it is. Nice temporal shield as well, but Raikou's not out of the woods just yet. He really needs to hold on to this ice block here, and he does play it greedily. That temporal shield will proc, so he's gonna hold on to that. It would have been really, really dire for Method Black had the Pumpers forced out that ice block right there. Now the pressure is reversing. Nerdridge, though, again with a beautiful war banner. Swaps is gonna kill that off. Chaz landing a nice cyclone, and Method Black actually has pressure on 2 points here, as Cervantes doesn't have his Icebound Fortitude to work with, and Nerdridge as well doesn't have his defensive cooldowns for a while. Drainer, who are you going to be healing?
Yep, this is exactly what we want to see. The Pumpers, they push in, they manage to get Iron Bark and Temporal Shield, but that's all they get. After that, Method Black, they have the counter pressure that they need to force the Pumpers to run line of sight, and now you can see Chaz, he has Iron Bark. Raikou, he has Temporal Shield. So Method Black, they have to make sure, although they trade out those defensives, they need to buy themselves enough time to get counter pressure and actually force the Pumpers to play a little bit scared, which we have been seeing in this game.
I really like what Cervantes is doing right now. He's trying to play close to Chaz because of that mana difference there. They know that they need to play aggressive here. Chaz wants to go for drinks as his mana is super low, and this is the push to do it in. Now, this could potentially be an ice block coming from Raikou very soon after this push, because now Drainer could activate his Way of the Crane, and he might do it. And there it is, Way of the Crane. Big damage on Raikou. This is potential ice block for Raikou. He needs to be very, very careful. Chaz caught up in that intimidating shot, and now Drainer as well is going to be able to paralyze Chaz. Here is no temporal shield active, but Chaz has the Iron Block to deflect with. Is it going to be enough though, as those Maledicts connect? Beautiful Ring of Peace as well, but I think Raikou might be able to stabilize here, as we see a beautiful Hex onto Drainer. That's going to cost him a lot of mana though with that Way of the Crane push.
Yeah, definitely a very expensive spell for Drainer. That's why he really has to pick the moments in the game where he uses it and looks for that offensive push. I didn't mind it there, but Chaz still had the Iron Bark and the Temporal Shield, Raikou, so there really wasn't that much of a threat onto Method Black. They had to hold on a little bit longer and push through. You can see the Pumpers, they want to continue the fight, push in, try to take Raikou down, but they're just unable to find the damage that they really need. Raikou's been doing a really good job with his kiting. War Banner gets dropped out by Nerd Rage, but I don't think that actually was super effective on any crowd control, at least that I saw. Once again, Drainer trinkets out. Way of the Crane, Raikou forced into his first ice block. I don't mind him using it there a little bit preemptively, a little bit scared. I think that's exactly what he needed to do. Drainer may have overcommitted. He has no trinket, no Way of the Crane, almost completely out of mana. Raikou still has the Iron Bark from Chaz, but they're looking for a final push in this game to take Raikou down. Swapsy has to do a great job in this situation, looking for counter pressure on his team to force Cervantes and Nerd Rage to back off just a little bit.
Yeah, they need to find a polymorph now onto Drainer and a lot of pressure onto Nerd Rage, because Chaz needs to go and drink. There's the full Hex onto Drainer. Can we see the damage though? It looks like it's getting reversed here. Chaz has to drink it out. Raikou in big, big trouble, has to activate that secondary ice block. And the reason why the Pumpers are just all of a sudden playing super aggressive is because Chaz is out of mana. They need to stop him from drinking, and the way to do it is with this pressure. Chaz again though getting caught up in that paralyze. Raikou's gonna have to activate the Temporal Shield. This could be big trouble then.
Yeah, definitely huge trouble for Raikou. Once again, a beautiful Ring of Peace coming in from Drainer, but now Drainer in a full polymorph. Raikou looking to get aggressive once again. Cervantes steals it, but unfortunately it breaks on Chaz, so Chaz not going to be sitting that polymorph that Cervantes was able to take from Raikou, and this is what we see. Nerd Rage and Cervantes, they could be locked down at 35% dampening. This is the critical mass point in the game where Method Black can just take someone down quite easily. Nerd Rage getting lower, beautiful lightning lasso, and I don't think Drainer has the healing to hold on much longer. Method Black ties up the series, but the last game was just so important for the Pumpers. They still have that advantage in the swing match.
That was a very close game as well. Method Black manages to get by that pressure, but not by much. You got to give it up to Cervantes there too. Like, so many clutch Dark Sims. That last poly looked like it was going to be enough to close out the game, and you can't really fault any of the pressure that does come out there because of exactly what Zico said. All of a sudden you see that opening, your healer doesn't really have much mana left, but neither does Chaz. You go in, you prevent that drink. He needs to stay in the combat so he can keep his team healthy. So close to being able to take it for the Pumpers.
Yeah, they just need to play it very, very aggressively, and it honestly comes down to small things like that one Way of the Crane push where they didn't force out the ice block because of the Temporal Shield and the Iron Bark being available. Maybe they jumped the gun a little bit too soon here on one of their pushes, but still, the Pumpers, they are disadvantaged. This is still a pretty big map. This is one of the medium-sized map, which is not going to be in the pool available for Method Black anymore, so they did a good job considering they forced out both of the the ice blocks. They had a win condition there in the end, but Method Black, as well to their credit, definitely did a good job shutting down that aggression by CCing Drainer and by applying that pressure. Swapsy did a really good job as the goalkeeper in this match. Every time Drainer pushed in, he landed a Hex, Lightning Lasso onto Nerdridge, Lightning Lasso onto Cervantes, basically just being a rodeo.
Yeah, and also I feel like Method, to take it a step further, was able to be a little bit more aggressive in this one as well, which forced some of these situations that did happen. And now we need to think about how important that momentum that you talked about a little earlier is going to be. We're getting very close to crowning our first champion of the day in the EU.
Don't really have too much criticism. They played it aggressively. Swapsy did a phenomenal job just being basically being the defense for Method Black, the person who crowd controls Drainer on their offensive pushes and then also applies that counter pressure. But if I had to criticize one thing, I would want to see Raikou and Swapsy throw more interrupts onto Drainer and just be a little bit more patient with some of their CCs, because they want to CC the way of the Crane. And also, I want to see them just put pressure on the Fnobbers and then later on in dampening, try to take down Cervantes. And I think that's going to be a really, really big thing for them. Maybe even swap over onto Drainer if he gets too frisky.
All right, time to pump it up. We're getting it started. We can see that Fnobbers is going to be in on that Druid. Going to be coming in with that Incarnation too in the opener. He's going to get knocked all the way down off of the platform. But this Incarn, look for that to be lit up. Look for Fnobbers to be on fire, because that Incarn packs such a heavy punch for the Moonkin. And we are going to see, though, it is Drainer who is going to have to trade out that Life Cocoon. He's inside of the Polymorph. He gets the re-Polymorph on him as well. Raikou was able to put out so much pressure there inside of his Icy Veins, and Fnobbers still going to be in bear form here, and he's going to have to hang out in that quite a bit if Raikou can keep this pressure up.
Yeah, Fnobbers, this is the downtime where they don't have a lot of crowd control or burst damage with cooldowns, so it's just better to stay in bear form as a balanced Druid. Your damage outside of Incarnation is almost non-existent, so just reduce the damage you take, make sure that you survive until a window of opportunity where you can actually make things happen. Also, Mistweaver monks are highly susceptible to crowd control, so a Polymorph currently casted on Drainer means that Drainer is not healing Fnobbers, so by being in bear form, he reduces the damage and can stay alive in the fight. Opportunities where they could maybe attack back outside of Incarnation is the Solar Beam, but because Chaz is playing a Druid, they are going to need to land that on a cast. But Druids in this meta not going to be casting very much, so unlikely that Chaz even gives that opportunity for Fnobbers. Chaz getting bounced off the side with that Ring of Peace, not really too consequential. Fnobbers now knocked to the corner. Lightning Lasso attempt gets broken up. Good denial there on that Lightning Lasso. Very important that you interrupt it or trade a cooldown. It definitely deals the highest damage of any spell on Method Black's team.
Yeah, and right there, Chaz actually roots up the pet behind the pillar, but never mind, we see a big swap here onto Chaz. That could be big trouble. No, he's going to be able to escape from that. So what Chaz likes to do is he likes to root the pet up behind pillars, and then when he actually goes to activate his stealth, that pet aggro drops, and that does allow him to reposition and potentially get drinks. The problem is it's very, very difficult to do on this map, especially when Drainer and Cervantes both are being on top of him. But now they punish Drainer for trying to stop that drink with a bash into a full sheep. They don't seem to be able to find that much pressure. And again, every single time they make these plays, Chaz will cross the map, allowing his wizards to tee off damage onto Cervantes. That's going to force out the Life Cocoon. Chaz now looking for the stealth, not able to find it as Drainer chases him down once again.
And it's very difficult to get the Life Cocoon off script, though, and that's because of something that Sid was actually talking about. We see a very short cooldown on that Life Cocoon. Are we seeing a lot of those Azerite traits being the focus here, Sid, to make sure that you can just have that short CD on such a powerful cooldown?
Yeah, Burst of Life and Chrysalis are pretty much mandatory for Mistweaver right now. So Burst of Life and Azerite trait, reducing the cooldown of Life Cocoon by 20 seconds. Chrysalis, an Honor talent, reducing the cooldown of Life Cocoon by 45 seconds, making it a 55-second cooldown. And it fits into that 1-minute cycle. It pairs really well with classes like, in this case, Death Knight and Balanced Druid for Barkskin for the Druid, Anti-Magic Shield for the Death Knight, and you just rotate between those two cooldowns every minute, making an efficient trade. Now, obviously, you can deny Life Cocoon's usage by crowd controlling the Mistweaver, such as a Polymorph, which is currently active on Drainer. During this time, Swapsy then looks to coordinate Lightning Lasso. Fnobbers then denied this situation, which otherwise would have been scary because they removed the potential of Life Cocoon, and Fnobbers didn't have Barkskin. So he then uses his Gladiator's Medallion, which removes Lightning Lasso, stops all of his damage, and allows him to get back to the pillar. So good defensive trades on the side of the Pumpers. Cervantes now looking to turn up the heat as it is their turn to start to counter-aggress while Lightning Lasso is on cooldown.
You can also see time and time again, Fnobbers is going to be stuck in that bear form. The pressure that's coming out on him, you can see the Lightning Lasso right now. He's also inside of that AMZ, but he's forced into that defensive place, and when he is in that, he's not going to be able to get out any pressure. He's actually barely doing any damage at that time. Raikou actually going to be the one, though, that does get stuck in that beam. You talk about how that beam can create more goes. A lot of the time, that is going to be focused on the healer. You get out the root as well. They can't move out. If you're inside of that giant ray of light, you are silenced. So sometimes you'll actually see gnomes be used so you can get out of it with escape artist. Here, though, obviously, you are going to be a druid. That's going to limit what you can play, and Night Elf is absolutely crucial for those drinks. So different tactics need to be employed to avoid goes from that, but Incarn activated now, and that is the main setup that we expect from the Pumpers.
Yeah, and once again now Chaz going to be looking for that drink. Drainer is chasing him around. Now we see the counter pressure here onto Swapsy as a result of Chaz going for those drinks time and time again. There's two ways to stop it. Of course, you have Cervantes with his pet and with his Death and Decay. Drainer, of course, also chasing Chaz a lot as he's looking for another stealth. He might find it. No, he's not going to find it. And then, of course, the other way is to stop it by shutting down Shaz's ability to drink with counter pressure on Swapsy or Raikou. Swapsy always going to be a juicier target because Raikou sometimes would just trade out his ice block for a drink. It's a good trade to make. Now, Chaz actually does get the stealth off. Now he needs to sneak away. Drainer is looking for him. He doesn't find it, though. But now they need pressure here on the side of Method Black to allow Chaz to get this drink. Cervantes realizes it, putting up a lot of pressure here onto Swapsy. That gnome racial as well paying dividends there as it allows Cervantes to reconnect with that Nova. So Shaz actually does get a little bit of a sip there, and now Fnobbers is looking to get a Cyclone out, gets a nice counterspell there from Raikou. Another Polymorph as well onto Drainer to kind of weather the storm here. We see Cervantes taking the brunt of the damage right now, but now the pressure should be swapped over to Method Black.
If you take a look at the Twitch extension now available, you can check out the gear talents that the players are running, and Chaz has completely changed his build versus this Death Knight and this Balanced Druid composition. There's obviously a lot of nature and arcane damage, so he has opted to run the Mark of the Wild Honor talent, which reduces those schools of magic by 15%. He has also decided to run Cultivation and Cenarian Ward for more consistent healing throughout the fights, which is why his mana is looking so much better. I like these adaptations in his build when facing this composition. And most curiously, which I've never even considered playing Druid myself, is he's running Lively Spirit, which gives you 0.5% of your mana back for every spell that you cast during Innervate. So you can get maybe 4 or 5% of your mana back on your Innervate on top of making your spells free. Chaz is playing way more efficiently, completely changed his build to counteract the damage style that the Pumpers have brought, and that build change might be enough for Method Black to overcome an uphill battle.
It's funny because you may be like, wait, a healer's using Lively Spirit? Yeah, actually, it was a weird adaptation that we saw with the Moonkins deciding to use that last season. They were using it for big damage on their Star Surges. Now we're seeing healers actually go into employing it. Swapsy going to be taking some pressure here. He's caught up in the leg sweep.
Yeah, and I want to see Shaz go for a Cyclone here as he has his Innervate back up. Actually, I don't think, is he playing Cyclone, Sid? Yeah, he is. Okay, they're
yes.
right there. So there's the Cyclone. He doesn't manage to find it, though, with that Innervate, unfortunately for him. However, Chaz has gotten a drink, and this is really Method Black's strategy. They need to conserve Chaz's mana as much as possible. As we already mentioned, the Mistweaver, up until Dampening, will be the most mana-efficient healer, and now Chaz has tied up his mana completely. This is a moment where the Frost Mage and the Elemental Shaman are going to be able to force Fnobbers into that bear form with his Incarnation up as well now. The Pumpers on the back foot. This is looking good for Method Black right now. Fnobbers not going to be able to dish out any damage in that bear form, but now he's switching back out, doing a lot of damage with that Star Surge, but Swapsy again with the Lightning Lasso is trying to force him back into the bear form. Chaz now at the back of this pressure, looking for a drink. Can Raikou find the Polymorph, though? He doesn't manage to get it onto Drainer. Drainer, though, going to find himself getting bashed up into a Cyclone. Nice Solar Beam as well onto Raikou, trying to counter-aggress as we see the Maledict Trinkets being comboed with that CC. Now they have so much pressure that Chaz most likely is going to look for yet another drink after he throws out his Maledict Trinket right there.
I think this was a smart move on Chaz's part. I mean, his mana is in a way better spot than the last time when facing against this composition, and we saw ABC almost kill Cervantes in this specific matchup. So if Chaz's build change can buy him enough mana, get his team deep enough into dampening to kill Cervantes, I actually think Method Black may be able to take the swing match back in their favor for a Game 7, which could just secure themselves the entire tournament.
Sid, you don't get to go into Incarn very often, and we talk about that's really the main time when we're going to see Knobbers be able to get damage out. Both of the last 2 Incarns, we see him sitting in bear form for majority of it. How far behind is that going to put the pumpers in the department of pumping?
Well, I mean, it's their only win condition, their only kill windows during Incarnation, at least before heavy dampening. But Mark of the Wild then basically suppresses the damage over time effects of the Balance Druid to the point where they're utterly useless. So what Knobbers is doing is basically just soaking damage in bear form, pretty much playing a tank spec and not able to get any sort of counter pressure out for his team. And I actually think that Method Black, if they can beat this comp, it may end up being that Drainer needs to rely on the Warrior Death Knight for the rest of the series. This may not even be an option anymore due to Chaz's talent adaptation.
I feel like these are some of the techs that maybe we did hear whispers of as we see once again some crisp CC coming out. Fnobber's still taking the brunt of the damage, but Chaz all of a sudden, it's just like a complete cracking of the code that he has figured out. You got Raikou with both of his ice blocks. Swapsy, I don't even think he's had to press a wall yet, even though he has received so much pressure. We're already at 32% dampening. A little bit of pressure is going to come out here on Raikou, and once again, Chaz is going to be able to trade out his Iron Bark. Raikou isn't even thinking about chilling out in that ice block yet. Fnobbers is going to be the one that has to get scared there. He does have the renewal. Is he going to have to use it? He does. That's going to keep him healthy for now, but in bear form, he's still taking damage. Drainer stuck in that clone.
Yeah, and we see Cervantes now as well, trying to just line of sight here, trying to drag everybody back here. But Chaz finds himself a nice opportunity to potentially go for a drink, as he is always positioned behind Raikou. Raikou is always kind of the defense between Chaz and Cervantes. Cervantes gonna be looking for it. He might have to activate his anti-magic shell. We see the first
all in.
Brain. Now big damage here onto Swapsy. This could be potentially the first Astro shift of the game. Swapsy is being a little bit greedy with it though. Chaz does have his Iron Bark active. The Gladiator Safeguard is procced as well. Swapsy be running on that wolf, trying to just escape the fray here. We see the Incarnation as well from Knobbers being active there, and now the counter pressure is happening. Raikou landing a nice polymorph, nice cross CC with that Nova as well on Cervantes. Knobbers going to be forced into bear form with those last couple of seconds on his Incarnation, but Swapsy's not out of the woods yet. Chaz is going to look to top him off and then look for another drink.
Such a huge squelch of a push there. I mean, Knobbers is coming in with his Incarn. Now he's going to get that short Incarn here. Drainer using the Way of the Crane, and you can see silenced once again is going to be Knobbers. Swapsy doesn't even have to use the wall. 41% dampening. You have your biggest offensive cooldowns being activated, and they don't even get the wall. Now, Cycloned at about half health when he has that pressure from the Icy Veins as well. Raikou is going to be a little tilted at this moment. A nice follow-up as well. That's going to force the first block of the game as well. Very nice follow-up there. A little bit of an overlap, too.
I mean, now it's not looking so hot. The pumpers have made it into deep dampening, and they are creating situations where Chaz simply cannot heal. Raikou gets taken out in game number 5. Pumpers advance to match point. Method Black fortunately have one more opportunity, but it's really not looking good.
It looked so grim after that last push as well. You had such a big push, and all of a sudden, was it dampening just ramping up high enough? You're complimenting everything that happens with Chaz's build. It seems like it has such a bulwark against what they are charging in with. And then they find the kill on Raikou after just getting the first block.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to the fact that, well, they overlapped the ice block with the Iron Bark right there when that happened as well. Raikou was in a stun. He wasn't going to get out of that stun. He was low. Dampening was high. Chaz mana was low as well. He should have just immediately activated the blocks. Chaz should have saved his Iron Bark. And this is the moment that I'm talking about, actually. So here, this is a 100% on ice block from Raikou. There's no way he's not going to have to block here. He didn't even have it in parachute. So yeah, there it is. Iron Bark from Chaz should have been saved here, and now Drainer and the company, they forced out the ice block without actually using the Way of the Crane. Raikou exits his ice block very, very early, and then of course Drainer is going to realize that, activates his Way of the Crane, 2 quick kicks to the face, and Raikou just goes down there. And Drainer has 50% mana left in the tank. A lot of it comes down to the map pick as well. It's a lot of uptime on this map. Dalaran Sewer is for sure the worst map to go up against this comp.
It's so funny, too, because you expect that Incarn is going to be so much of that win condition, and then ultimately it's Way of the Crane. It's the healer that's going to take you down while you're still in hypo. So, Sid, how important is that Incarn with how much that we did see it getting shut down?
I mean, it's the main focus point for the Balanced Druid, and it's been like that, I think, since Mists of Pandaria, since its inception. So during that 30-second window of time, which is a pretty big window, the Balanced Druid boosts all of his damage with Incarnation, and then of course Way of the Crane as the added threat from the healer can then either stack them together for one big push, or you can split them up to make 2 separate pushes and try and attrition out the cooldowns, which is what ended up happening at the end of the match. Drainer's doing a phenomenal job now aggressively to secure the kills for his team, making these pushes and really being the X factor.
And you can also see all of a sudden their eyes light up, right? That Ring of Peace, when it comes down, you're like, oh no, are they really going to be going for it? And that's based off of the fact that we know that mage is still going to be in hypothermia. How long does hypothermia actually last?
30 seconds.
30 seconds. It's definitely not a number that you do want to be forgetting. That's when we see Raikou at that place of vulnerability for just a little bit of time. Cold Snap obviously is going to make those Frost mages a little bit tankier. They have that extra ice block to be working with. And Zico, it was just such a good opening for the Pumpers to see, because it looked like they were almost out of it in this one.
Yeah, it comes down to Method Black played it very, very well. They managed to conserve their mana, play to their win condition. Typically, we would see Chaz go out of mana, or the rest of the Druid in general go out of mana at that point. And then, of course, we would see the Pumpers just kind of take advantage of that with the Starfall, Cervantes, and Drainer, of course, all kind of shutting down those drinks and then just winning with the Incarnation. But here, Chaz did a good job conserving his mana, but still, there just wasn't enough pressure on the side of Method Black. And a lot of it comes down to the map as well, because, well, you want to kill Cervantes mainly. You want to hit Snowburst to force him to be defensive, but your kill target is Cervantes, and you can't actually kill him when he plays that gnome, and he has the anti-magic shell, and he has so many small... We see the Mugambala get locked in. I like it.
This series has been fun. I'm going to be honest, like, this is just one of those series where you really do just, like, you're not 100% sure what's going to happen. You see what the script is, and when you see those tiny little dance moves that just throw you off guard, it's like a salsa. It's beautiful. We're going to see Mugambala thrown in here. Sid, what do you think the reason is? You're one of the believers in the dreams. Mugambala, how did we make it here?
There's just only small maps left other than it. It's just the biggest that's available, and Method Black, they benefit from playing on the biggest maps. I'm curious to see how the Pumpers play around with it positionally. I expect Method Black to focus mainly at that rectangle, the gigantic rectangle pillar at the bottom, and focus most of their attention down there to pull Drainer out of position and expose him out in the open to crowd control. But if they decide to fight either in the starting areas or at the top of the balcony, then Drainer's team likely has the edge. Not surprising to see them blind lock in their Death Knight and their Warrior composition. Now, of course, Method Black are likely to play Elemental Shaman Frost Mage here. I'm very curious to see how it plays out. I think this is the first time we've seen it in 2019, at least, in a completely different meta. It could definitely go either way, I think. It's not particularly favorable to either side, depending on which area of the map you decide to fight.
This is my favorite map in the game, hands down.
You love it?
Yeah, I love playing it with Sid. Sid doesn't let me leave the starting room.
That's our room, okay? We have to be safe.
Don't leave the bush. Stay right here. But ultimately, the Pumpers are on match point as they do head into Mugambala. And we're going to see Nerd Rage yet again. This is a composition that's already done work for them. Method Black now going to be making their selection. Mugambala.
Yep. It's a great map. I think for Method Black, what they're going to be trying to do is on the bottom portion of the map where that big rectangle pillar is, like we kind of talked about, they're just going to be running in circles around it like it's a racetrack. Yeah. The one thing that might make that difficult is Drainer with his Ring of Pieces can sort of block off their exit. So if they're playing too close to the pillar, you can put it right on that edge, and then you have to run all the way around, and that's an opportunity for the Pumpers to actually have uptime on a target and potentially take someone down. For me, it wouldn't make sense for Method Black to really position any other way.
Yeah, I mean, you can do a lot on this map if you are a Drainer, right? You can see everybody running around that big giant pillar or that gong that is in the middle, like it's the Dark Moon Fair, and the Ring of Peace is going to be able to break that up. Also, you're going to be able to see interesting portal placements, potentially. I don't even know how they are going to go about it, because Ven brings up a lot of things. You kind of, when you look at this map, you almost look at it as you kind of just delete certain areas from your mind depending on which composition you are playing.
Yeah, I think for Method Black, they're going to have complete control of where the fight is taking place. Obviously, as melee, you have to be chasing down the range targets, and as the range targets, you can kind of drag them wherever you want. So what you want to be doing is keeping them in the wide open, and I actually think this is a really difficult map for Mistweaver to handle. I really do. There's not a lot of line of sight for him, so I think he will be susceptible. And with the way I think positioning will play out, it'll be Raikou constantly running away as a unit with his team, and then you'll have Cervantes and Nerd Rage chasing him down. Drainer will have to play very far away. If he plays too aggressive in midfield, then he'll easily be polymorphed because there's really nowhere for him to line of sight. He's just going to have to play far away as possible.
Does that create a potential danger? Because, I mean, last time, obviously this comp's going to play out a lot different. When you do look at Nerd Rage, you say, okay, consistent damage. Much more consistent damage. You're going to have that constant pressure as well from actually having that mortal wounds, that mortal strike coming in. When we see Drainer in the last game, he was the one who actually was able to lock up the win. So when we see the potential Way of the Crane push, is that a place of vulnerability that Method Black can actually tear into?
Well, what I want to see from the Pumpers is what we saw in Tolvaron Arena. I think they can pull it off against Method Black. I think it might be a little bit more difficult, but they're not going to have Darkness to rely on. I think the Pumpers, if they can catch Chaz off guard once again, they can go in for an all-in strategy where we see a War Banner drop down very early on from Nerd Rage. They commit all 3 Maledicts with Sharpened Blade, Way of the Crane, everything, and just try to get a very early win. I see that as their main win condition, pre-dampening. So I think they could potentially catch Chaz off guard if he is playing a little bit too defensive, but it does become difficult when Raikou has spam polymorph. You're going to have to do a really good job with that War Banner, with your Revival, with your Trinkets, your Dispel Magic if you want to actually keep Cervantes and Nerd Rage on target.
Cervantes, though, has been doing such a fantastic job with those Dark Simulated Crayons, taking so many polymorphs time and time again.
Is that how you say it?
Yeah, that's actually the correct way to do it. I know you guys
I've been saying it wrong.
I checked chat. I checked chat. Yeah, that's how you do sound it out. So Dark Simulated Crayon is an ability that Death Knights do have that allows them to actually steal an ability when it is being casted. So Cervantes has done a fantastic job with it throughout this tournament.
In the one game he picked it, you mean?
Yes.
On Tigers?
Yes.
Yeah, he did a really good job in that game. Unfortunately, they lost that game, but the Dark Simulated Crayons were definitely on point on Tiger's Peak. I'm not sure if you will be playing it here. We will see. I'm not sure if that's the play to make. I feel like if you're going after Chaz, you probably don't want to pick that talent altogether. And I think going after Chaz for a quick all-in, win or lose, they will still have a small map to fall back on later on. And I think if we do go to a Game 7, I actually want to see Waz get tagged in for that rogue mage on that map, because I don't think that the mage elemental is favored at all on a smaller map against the Moonkin DK. But here it is, Mugambala.
We are finally here for the first time in 2019, the home of the Long Boy. We are at Mugambala, and this can be the place where we see this series decided. Man, going to Mugambala for the first time was fantastic, and guess what? We're going to get to go there again shortly. That's awesome. We get to go there twice in one day. That's awesome. Feels good. Oh, man, we're not done just yet with Mugambala. I am really excited to see how this plays out, but this gives us a chance to talk more about Dark Simulacrum.
Dark Simulacrum?
Dark Simulacrum or Dark Simulacrum?
I think it's Dark Simulacrum.
Dark Simulacrum?
Dark Simulacron.
Dark Simulacrum.
None of us can say it.
So
right.
one of the reasons...
Can we see that graphic again?
Yeah, you have it spelled
this is
out.
A phonetic
Can we get
class?
a phonetic graph? Yeah, production, we're requesting phonetics now. So one of the things with this ability that Zico pointed out that is very intelligent, we have seen Cervantes use it in the tournament, but one of the reasons that we don't see it as much in the series is because Chaz is going to be on the Druid. That's going to diminish the value of the polymorphs that Raikou is spamming out, and it's going to be tricky to actually catch Chaz in a poly.
Yeah, and that's the one thing that these high-rated mage druid teams, when they know that a polymorph has been stolen, the druids are usually very, very quick to ask, what did he steal? Did he get a poly? And if the answer is yes, similarly to what we saw on Tiger's Peak, you can see there was a point where we saw Chaz just go bear form and then go out in cast form and then immediately go cat form and try to kind of bait the polymorph and try to shapeshift the instant cast polymorph. And we've seen, I mean, from first-hand experience when I played with Chaz, when I played with Mimpoika, this is something they do on purpose to avoid those crowd controls. So it's a heads-up thing, but also I think it's just more valuable to go for some other talents. If you are going for an all-in strategy, you don't really want to steal a polymorph and just polymorph the mage. It's not going to accomplish too much compared to polymorphing the healer and trying to kill the mage like we saw on Tiger's Peak. Now, I want to quickly highlight this map because I'm not sure how they're going to use it. Those stairs right there, if you play up there, it's not going to be ideal for Method Black, so they want to avoid that area altogether. The pumpers could potentially just AFK in the room and wait for a bit of dampening, but if they wait too long, then the Blizzard, the Frozen Orb, and the Earthquakes are going to be too much for them to handle. But they could do that if they want to just kind of sit down and wait for dampening and then do an all-in push on Chaz. Then, of course, Method Black's ideal position is around that big rectangular pillar right there in the middle to kind of run circles around it. So those are the three main spots. And also, if you're a Mistweaver, if you go up on that stair right there and you can actually use your Transcendence and go into the room, and here we go.
Mugambala for the second time of the year. The Long Boys, they are watching, and we can see what they see right now. It's just going to be Drainer and Nerd Rage going to be hanging out in that room with Cervantes as well. And Sid, this is the strategy that we like to play.
I mean, that room is definitely good defense and good cover against ranged classes, so it is not surprising to see them want to battle it out in the room. And this is why it's a bit of a stalemate in terms of the compositions that both sides have brought. The casters want to play an open field, the melee want to play in close quarters, and this map has both of those options available, so neither team really wants to give up that advantage, and you really have to assess who has the upper hand in dampening. I think if Drainer has mana in dampening, this benefits their team more to wait.
I love Chaz's little recon mission there. He goes down in cat form, he goes, yep, they're still in the room. He runs back to his team, nice and safe, gets a little drink. Now we can see Raikou, he's going to drop that orb inside, try to harass them, push them out, but there are plenty of corners to chill in here.
It's a very big room.
It's a big room. It really is.
It's a big room, but also a very small room. So, yeah, really Method Black. They don't want to be
confusing me, Ben.
The room of necessity, that's what it is.
Yep, it's everything you want it to be. And this arena really is sectioned
That's how I
off.
feel about you, Ven.
Oh, thank you. This arena is sectioned off into basically multiple arenas, and it looks like, I feel like the pumpers potentially getting, I don't know, sometimes we see teams do this, where at the beginning of the game, they'll sit back, they'll do nothing, they'll wait, and then they get bored or impatient. I don't know which one it is, and they'll try to push in, but I feel like the pumpers, if this is their game plan, where they want to wait for dampening, they just need to be patient with it, force Method Black to sort of push in, or just wait for the game to go to dampening and see exactly what happens. I don't know who has the lead. I think for the pumpers, if we do get deep enough into dampening, all of a sudden Raikou with his Frozen Orb and Blizzard will be able to punish them quite a bit, but that also leaves Method Black susceptible to an easy all-in on Chaz or potentially Swapsy.
So there's something that I've always wanted to do on this map, and I've never had the opportunity until right now, because usually I'm getting carried super hard by Sid. I've always been curious how many dinosaurs there actually are here. Are there 2 Long Boys, or are there 3? How many pterodactyls are there? Spoon, if you can kind of move that, maybe we're on Vanguard's POV right now. Major shout out to all of the guys in the back. Our spectators do a fantastic job. I see 2 Long Boys.
I think there's 4.
Are there 4?
I think there's 4.
I'm really bad at math. I can't even count, apparently.
1, 2 on our screen, and then I think they're paralleled on the opposite side, so there's 4.
Drainer.
Oh no, there's only 3.
That's a nice.
Wait, no, there's 4.
There's 4.
There's 4. And then I think there are 2 Petries too.
There's 1, 2, yep. So 4 dinosaurs on this
2
map.
pterodactyls.
The pterodactyls, 2 of them.
4 Long Boys.
Drainer's just dancing.
I think they brought their autograph books. They want someone to sign it, but everyone's just ignoring them.
All right. Well.
Right, well, I guess
the pterodactyl doesn't like this strat.
We need the ogre. Where's the ogre?
Yeah.
Just yelling, screaming at you.
For now, this I guess comes down to theory. What's going to happen in dampening? Who's their best option if they're going to try to stall out the game until healing is reduced? What is their all-in target? Certainly not Raikou.
Yeah, not Raikou. Swapsy or Chaz for sure should be the all-in target. The problem with Chaz is that if he doesn't go down in the stun lock, then he can blink away, and it's very unlikely that you actually connect the Chaz without investing your death grip. So that means that Chaz will just blink away and actually get away and survive. If you go after Swapsy, well, he doesn't need to die in the stun, but he has the thunderstorm as well. He doesn't have, a blink in the same sense as Chaz does, but Swapsy can still get away with that Ghost Wolf. But then you have to rely on doing a whole bunch of damage in the stun and then kind of killing him with ranged abilities before he gets away out of your range. Now, Raikou is just not going to be a target at all if you wait for deep dampening, because he can just simply ice block on high HP, trinket, double blink. He has the most amount of mobility, and the story really is all about the mobility here. Now, I think Chaz is the best target because you can just kind of grip him in, get the triple maledict combo, and then after that you can just chase him down with Drainer's damage and Nerd Ridge's damage. Cervantes doesn't necessarily need to connect there with his actual melee abilities. He can kind of just be afar, spam out the chains, spam out the death coils, and still contribute that way with his pet as well. So I think Chaz for sure should be the target, but Swapsy could also be the target. It all depends on positioning. Chaz, though, needs to be aware of this and just be outranging Cervantes' death grip at all costs, because if he does get gripped in and fall behind, it's super difficult for him to recover. It's also super difficult for Swapsy and Raikou to counter pressure in that scenario.
What do we think the critical mass is? I mean, we just have
when do they start fighting?
Yeah, when do we start fighting? I mean, for the Pumpers, this is match point. If they win this, they win the entire tournament. So very important. They're trying to secure as many points as possible. So if they feel like their best opportunity, wait for that all in. They're just taking advantage of the map the best they can. You really can't blame them. Method Black, they're going to be looking to drag them in the open.
I'd wait till like 70%, right? You go full on.
Are we breaking records?
I don't even. Well, you don't really need
no.
to. You don't really need to do that, right? I don't think you gain anything extra.
They should
from that.
just because they can.
Yeah, but I don't know if
maybe,
they win with that.
Yeah,
I don't think
it could
they
go.
win.
It could go the opposite way, just because of Lightning Lasso, right? Like Lightning Lasso is super scary. Lightning Lasso, you get your Maledict in, and all of a sudden it's just wham bam, thank you ma'am. We're going to a game number 7. I do think the Pumpers can go pretty deep into dampening, and their push will be able to handle it. You trade out different things like the anti-magic shell. You can handle a lot of that pressure that's going in. You have the AMZ to keep Nerd Rage safe as well. But I do think you want to go to the critical mass. And oh, never mind. I thought that was Bonsomdi. I was like, I didn't know he was here.
I thought that was a dinosaur.
I love Bonsomdi, dude. He's
I
so
thought that
cool.
was the 7th dinosaur.
When Somdi roasted me when I died in a World Quest, I don't like him very much anymore.
Yeah, me too.
See, I would never let you die in a World Quest. As much as you have my back in arenas, I could have you in World Quests and LFR, man. I got you.
Somdi is like rich. He just roasts me for not ice blocking in that one tournament years ago.
I am the low of the roast. I am the low of the roast. I'm the low of all tournaments past. But,
So if we do hit about 60-70% dampening, I actually think Method Black should push into that room with the Raikou leading the charge, kind of being the damage sponge, as we can see right here. The problem with what he's doing right now is that the Blizzard is easily avoidable due to how big the room is, and if he goes any further, then Cervantes can just dip out to the starting room or the entrance of the room and just kind of grip Raikou in. Drainer can lock the door with the Ring of Peace, and then all of a sudden, Raikou is going to be costing his team a lot of cooldowns. So
yeah.
It's kind of scary. I want to see Raikou lead the charge when dampening actually is high enough for his team to kind of capitalize on the fact that they're going to be investing their damage onto Raikou.
Z, that's really intelligent. I mean, one of the things that is nice about being in this room, if you are a monk, you can say, Mom, Dad, it's my room, lock him out, close the door, Ring of Peace. But luckily for us, we do not have to think here. We have the advantage with a slower paced game that we can ask chat. Chat together has a combined rating of probably 4,000, 10,000. You think higher?
You don't want to mock Twitch chat.
I'm not mocking. I'm not
want to mock.
I'm not mocking. Oh, here we go.
Oh, PvP's happening.
Yeah, it looks like they are going to be moving in, just waiting to around 20% dampening. Raikou gets caught into the asphyxiate stun. Nice Ring of Peace as well from Drainer, but Raikou's easily able to escape. But the Pumpers, they're looking to push through. Are they going to be able to take Raikou down? They did manage to get the Iron Bark from Chaz. I think Raikou should be able to survive here, but this is a good offensive push. Temporal Shield also used Nerd Rage, Double Fear, onto Swapsy, onto Chaz. Swapsy has to trinket out to get the Tremor Totem he needs, and now the Pumpers in a good spot. Raikou, 20% dampening, no temporal shield, no Iron Bark, no nothing. If they can instantly get out this first ice block, things are going to be looking good for the Pumpers.
It's match point here. We're in the grand finals. Even though it was a slow start, there's still everything on the line right now for Method Black. If the Pumpers just take victory here, they're going to close it out 4-2. Although currently Drainer in crowd control and Nerd Rage under fire. Cervantes makes the trade during that critical moment to stabilize Nerd Rage's health, but because the teams have waited to 23% dampening, recovering is not going to be a simple and straightforward task. Crowd control is still raining down. Definitely Method Black have the positional advantage here on the open sided of this rectangle pillar, and the thing is the Pumpers can't really dictate where the fight goes. That's why we saw that stalemate for so long, but if we keep fighting out here in the open, this is Method Black's game.
Yeah, this is really good positioning for Method Black. The Pumpers really have nowhere to run and hide. Nerd Rage tried to escape, but Swapsy chased him down, forcing out the Life Cocoon. Die by the Sword, still available for Nerd Rage if he needs it. He has his trinket as well. Trying to push through onto Raikou. Raikou is still having his temporal shield. They have to start working through some of those defensives. Chaz is burning out of mana. This might have been the tactic that the Pumpers wanted. Chaz is going to have to use a lot more mana to keep their team alive in this fight. Drainer's still doing quite healthy. There's a full Cyclone onto Nerd Rage. If there's any follow-up crowd control onto Drainer, they might be able to capitalize on that. Raikou looking for an Ebon Bolt, finding huge damage onto Nerd Rage, who is forced to retreat.
Yeah, he is forced to retreat. Nerd Rage down at half health. Drainer still locked in crowd control. Method Black have had complete control of this fight. Now, I would say start to finish, but there wasn't much control for the first 5 minutes. But now they have full control of the pace of this match. Chaz has burned down about half mana, so there is that lead. Every time they put Drainer on polymorph diminishing return, such as this Hex, he then looks to Way of the Crane while he's still on diminishing return, just such as this, and it's a good opportunity to try and push. I don't like that they're kiting up to the top balcony. That's a much better position for the Pumpers. Method Black still on match point. The Pumpers finally coordinating together to get that ice block out of the way.
Yeah, Raikou still no temporal shield, no Iron Bark. They can make the final push. They might be able to kill him on Hypothermia. Chaz trying to escape, looking for the regrowth spam onto Nerd Rage to keep him alive. Or sorry, onto Raikou to keep him alive. Nerd Rage dipping down low. Drainer activates the Life Cocoon. They want to stay offensive in this moment. Raikou still, he has his Cold Snap available. I think he just wants to hold on to it. And sometimes you'll see Frostmage do this. They wait for the Cold Snap so they have access to 2 Frost Novas as well as 2 Ice Barriers, which can be very important to stay alive.
Yeah, definitely, but we see crowd control initiation. It's match point here, ladies and gentlemen, between the Pumpers, the newcomers, the regained power roster. Dark Simulated Crayons have nagged Cervantes a polymorph, but even off the back of a full duration polymorph, they are unable to connect. Raikou's kiting is too strong. He was able to avoid damage throughout the time, but now they make a swap to the healer. Is Chaz going to fall here in what could be the final moments of the tournament? Drainer uses his trinkets aggressively to go after the enemy team with Way of the Crane. His team can't connect. This has to be a mistake on Drainer's part.
Full Cyclone on Drainer. Nerd Rage still in a lot of trouble. Die by the Sword trying to redirect some of this damage, deflected. Chaz now into a polymorph. Nice steal there by Cervantes. Drainer doesn't really connect much healing on Nerd Rage. He has to play catch up. He gets Wind Shear. And this is a susceptibility of the Mistweaver Monk as Nerd Rage dips lower and lower, trying to escape with that Life Cocoon. The crowd control has not ended on Drainer. He has to reconnect to Nerd Rage, but Swapsy trying to keep this pressure up. Nerd Rage still low, might be able to survive. Raikou trying to get in line of sight to find that kill onto him, but unfortunately with the positioning, I think Nerd Rage will be able to survive, but this is such a scary moment. 43% dampening. I don't think Nerd Rage is going to top off.
I mean, he's probably not going to. They've got one more Way of the Crane, but Raikou still has an ice block. So what do you do if you're the Pumpers? You have to kill Chaz, and you have to kill him while you're under fire from a Frost Mage and an Ellie. They did manage to snag a polymorph, but Cervantes is just on a solo mission. Maybe kill the Water Elemental, try and get a victory rush from the Warrior so he can heal himself, but it's just not, he's not going to go back to full health at 46% dampening. Both healers, but this is the Way of the Crane push, but they left Nerd Rage behind. Nerd Rage is just chilling it back at the corner while Drainer goes on a solo mission and then gets hexed on the Way of the Crane. These last 2 Way of the Cranes have definitely not been high value for Drainer, but finally connecting here onto Raikou. Thunderstorm denies it. Ring of Peace trying to pin him. Oh, so unfortunate. If that Ring of Peace had knocked Raikou downstairs, Maybe it's still going to be an ice block. It might not matter, but Swapsy can carry the team here. It's match point. Swapsy has to dish out all the damage to close this match out while Raikou is under fire. They're out in the open field in the corner. This is perfect for Swapsy to try and close. Do they have enough damage to take down Nerd Rage before Raikou falls? Raikou trying to kite, but now he dragged them on top of his healer. He's susceptible to interrupts. Perfect pummel by Nerd Rage, but now caught in a lightning lasso. Swapsy line of sights, but Cervantes backs him up for at least a couple more seconds. A race against the temporal shield. Anti-magic zone protects Nerd Rage just a little bit longer, but now a full hex. Maybe it doesn't matter. Raikou can't get healed anymore at 52% dampening. Raikou gets gripped back into the fight. It's a race to the finish. They get the second block, but they've only got 30% HP remaining. Earthshock connects. Swapsy can still carry. It's still on match point. Everything rides on him.
Yep, Cervantes into a full polymorph. That solo mission will end, and Chaz actually sat down for a drink. Nerd Rage in so much trouble. Not going to be wanting to move in. Lightning Lasso from Swapsy might be able to take him down. Life Cocoon, the last line of defense for Drainer. The Pumpers trying to close out this series. Raikou doesn't have an ice block left for so long. If Nerd Rage can reconnect, they might have an opportunity. A small moment in the game where they can actually win, but Nerd Rage forced to retreat. Beautiful thunderstorm there by Swapsy, and now Cervantes, he's been left all alone.
Yeah, what is he gonna do? Cervantes is trying. It's basically Cervantes has to carry the Pumpers, and then Swapsy has to carry Method Black. If Cervantes can get enough damage out here, perhaps they just take the whole tournament, but he's under fire. He has no cooldowns left. Drainer is so low on mana, and I think that Method Black are gonna take this to a Game 7. One more Way of the Crane, one more chance to get a kill, one more chance to be the champions. Can the Pumpers do it here? Dampening is at critical mass. Chaz is totally tapped, and Raikou
They did it!
taken out. The Pumpers are your Cup number 3 champions.
Absolutely crazy series as well, and there were so many times where, you know, the Pumpers are down by that giant rectangle. It looks like they're gonna just be destroyed there. They get up to the top portion of I really want to take a moment to appreciate Mugumbala. Obviously, you have them play very slow at the beginning. They stay in that starting room, but once they start moving around the map, you see how differently they need to play in each given portion of the map. Like when they get up on the stairs, you see that Ring of Peace. You see the Ring of Peace in the corner that almost knocks Raikou off. There are so many interesting things that happen on that map. It reminds me of back in Wrath of the Lich King, one of my favorite maps of all time. But Zico, what did you think of this matchup?
I mean, I think the matchup is very interesting to see how they kind of use the map, but I think the thunderstorm that Swapsy did to knock Nerd Rage and Drainer to where they are right now actually was kind of a problem for Method Black, because now it forces Raikou to either chase in there to the melees and die, or allow Drainer to actually regen some of that mana, allow Nerd Rage to regen some of that HP, and Cervantes, he still has all of his defensives, so he trades those out, and now all of a sudden Method Black is on the back foot. Drainer, of course, managing to combo that T with his Way of the Crane is all they need for that one and final push, and they had Drainer by the ropes. He had no mana left whatsoever. That was their time to be aggressive. Swapsy kind of reset that by knocking everybody away, so I didn't like that knock, and I didn't even like the fact that they went up there. I think it's fine on Mugumbala to go up those stairs, up to the top side, but as soon as you get up there, you want to go down on the other side. You just basically want to use it as a big space to kite and then go back down. You don't want to stay up there, and that's the big mistake I think that they did. You can tell that some of these teams are definitely inexperienced using this map, as it is still very new and people don't pick it competitively.
I just want to say, in EU, you really don't beat Method Black. The Pumpers did it twice this week. They were able to knock them down to the lower side of the bracket, and then they beat them in the grand final in a pretty outstanding fashion as well. It is going to be a 4-2 in favor of the Pumpers. It doesn't even make it all of the way. Oh yeah, Method Black. Sorry, Sid's pointing to me right there. What did you want?
I was trying to make a joke. Don't worry about it, Rich. The Pumpers go 4-2.
Yeah,
I predicted a 4-2 score, but in the other team's favor. And I think everything came down to that one map push on Tolvaron where they just took Chaz out in a couple seconds. If Chaz didn't misread that situation and was able to keep that, I think that they may have been able to take the entire series. So the Pumpers definitely performed here today, and I'm looking forward to watching them compete in the future.
How is that a joke?
That wasn't the joke. It's fine. I'll tell you about it later.
All right, so as we can see, the Pumpers are going to be able to take the first grand final of the day. They're one of the only teams that has been able to take down Method Black, and they do it in such an impressive fashion. And when you talk about just how important that is, all of a sudden we have a new team that we do need to be thinking about here. Because if the Pumpers can have a performance like this again, they don't even need to take first. If they can just get into top 4 again, all of a sudden they are looking better than some of the teams that have been competing for the past couple of weeks, see?
Yeah, I mean, the Pumpers, they are looking like the European version kind of the boys. A little bit different in that sense. Of course, the boys, they are a team that has, you know, the Warlock as well at their roster. But the Pumpers, they have Fnobbers on that Moonkin. They don't have a Goreki who plays pretty much every healer, but they have 2 healers who kind of play. Fnobbers can play, I think, Disc Priest and Resto Druid, and then on the side of Drainer, he plays the Shaman and the Monk, so they still have that those 2 healers who can fill every single role, and then they, of course, play all of those melee cleaves, and I think that it's going to be interesting to see what they can do in following cups, for sure. The Pumpers gonna take this first cup here. The first time we see them actually on broadcast, they're just going to be able to take the entire thing. Still, though, Method Black, we have to mention that they are still the top dog in Europe in terms of points. Right now, they are looking so good. They got, I think, 240 points before this, plus another 100 now added on that. That's 340 points, more than anybody in any region. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's the thing that really, I'm trying to look where I actually did put all, here we go. Basically, headed into this one, when you do know Method Black's already at 240 points and Wildcard Gaming's at 180. When Wildcard Gaming bows out earlier, when they are taken down by Method Black, you know that Method Black is going to be able to keep their spot, right? You know that. It's a matter of how far are they going to be able to go? How many points are they going to be able to grab? The answer is still a lot, right? They grab 100 with that instead of grabbing 120, and their lead is so tough, it looks like it's going to be nearly insurmountable to bring them down. I mean, even if you have this team, let's say that all of a sudden we see the Pumpers take cup after cup after cup, Method Black would almost need to really have some bad performances or face them early potentially to be dropping out enough for them to catch up, because it's only that additional 20 points. Like if this is the grand final every single time, it's going to be very hard to catch up. An important thing to note, that's where the consistency really does come into play from Method Black. But I like that parallel that you draw with the Pumpers, and you look at a squad like the boys. It's just interesting how it actually does play out, because you have somebody that we've considered one of the best Resto Druids in the world, and Fnobbers, that basically was like, he was gone for a little while, and then Looney's getting all the spotlight, and all of a sudden he's back, and we're like, okay, now he goes to a different team, and he's paired with Drainer. That opens them up to a lot of different options.
It definitely does. We know Drainer can play the Elemental Shaman as well, so potentially down the road, they could have Nerd Rage on the Warrior, Drainer on the Elemental Shaman, and then you have Fnobbers healing you. So lots of different comp options for them. For now, it seems like what they're bringing is very solid. No team has really found an answer for it, and they've just been destroying everybody.
The scary thing for them, big picture, is a meta change, right? Then you have to try to figure out, well, what compositions do they have? Are they, do they have enough right now? We'll think about that as we do look at this. This is going to be the standings right now as they are, with this cup in the rear view mirror for EU. We still have all of NA to get through today, so you're not going to want to go anywhere. But as we can see, Method Black, 340 points. Wildcard Gaming going to be in second place with 220, and the Pumpers are able to jump up to 4th here with 132 points. That's not necessarily something that we did expect. That's going to be a very big jump up the ladder for them.